Om Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So today we're going to speak about Upakarma. Upakarma is a ceremony which Brahmins do, or Dvijas, those who are twice born, who have gone through the Upanayam ceremony, do once a year, in which there are certain offerings of water, tarpanas, to different rishis and different devatas, and also the changing of the sacred thread. And there are some other parts to it. So what we want to do is we want to go over that in general. For different followers of different Vedas, it happens in different times. Usually the Rig Veda follows of the Yajurveda, perform this on the Purnima, or the full moon of the month of Shravan. So Shravana Purnima, which just happens to correspond to the Gaudiyas' celebration of Balarama Jayanti, or the appearance of Balarama, the avatar of Balarama. The date of Balaram's appearance, according to some other people, is different. So it just so happens that in the Gaudiya calendar, it's the appearance of Balarama at the same time. So those of you who are Gaudiyas, you should understand that you'll be celebrating two things here, okay? And one of the things which I wanted to point out, let's just talk about what Upakarma means. The whole raison d'etre, or the whole modus operandi, sorry to use French and Latin there, but the whole reason for being a Brahmin or for being a Dvija is to preserve the Vedic knowledge, to preserve the Vedas. So that's what Brahmins do. They study the Vedas and they memorize the Vedas, and they keep the Vedic knowledge intact. And they teach it to other people. So this is the reason for Dvijahood, or for Brahmanhood, is to keep that knowledge intact. And so we have to keep that intact, and we have to give that to other people. I'm just looking for recently somebody wrote a nice thing about Upakarma, which I want to read. Okay, so this is something which was written by someone in Trichy and Srirangam area, and he's translating some instructions or by Vedanta Deshika about the Vedanta Deshika was at 13th century, 1269 to 1368. Acharya in the Sri Vaisnava Sampradaya, very famous, who wrote about 120 different works. So Vedanta Deshika spoke about the importance of the Vedas, and as followers of Vedanta and Vaishnavas, we should understand that the Vedas are very important, being the primary texts upon which our philosophies are based. And so he explains different things that Vedanta Deshika said about the Vedas. One of them is that we must re-energize the Vedas. So I'll just read what he says here, what he's translated from Vedanta Deshika. Vedanta Deshika says, we must keep the Vedas that are with us as viratara, more and more potent, and not as nonjan, very weak due to illness. For this, every year we must perform the ritual to rejuvenate the Vedas. Let us see what the Katyayana Smriti, okay, so there's a Smriti Shastra called Katyayana, written by the sage Katyayana, says about that. So then he gives a pramana verse. Prajapad, Pratyapadam yet upakarmam sota sargam vidivat dvijaihi kriyate chandasam tena punarapyayanama bhavet. The Upakarma ritual that we perform, otherwise known in Tamil as Avani Avitam, because Avani is the name of the Tamil month and Avitam is the name of the star on which it falls. The Tamil name reinvigorates the Vedas. The word pratyapadam means that this must be done by us every year without fail. This is like periodically recharging of many new devices nowadays. So everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody, we all know that we have to recharge our cell phone, otherwise it doesn't work. So he's giving that analogy. Well, Vedanta Deshik is not giving that analogy, but this translator is putting that in brackets, just saying that the Vedas have to be recharged. It's actually not the Vedas that need recharging. We need recharging with Vedic knowledge every year. Upakarma points to the Vedic ritual that must be done on the Purnima or full moon of the month of Shravana, Avani Purnima, along with the Adhyayana Homa, beginning of that year's Vedic studies. By the phrase Sota Sargam, the sage says that this ritual must be completed by doing Uttasarga, completion of Vedic studies of that year. As a substitute, we do the Karmo Karshid Japa, or reiteration of the incantation Karmo Karshid as an expiation or a prayaschitta. There's a detailed procedure for doing this in Upakarma. By the phrase Vidivat, it is said that this ritual must be done sequentially with all its various parts, such as changing the punal, which is Tamil for sacred thread, otherwise known as Janayu, Yagyopavita, or Upavitam, Kanda Rishi Tarpana, etc. Dvija indicates that this procedure must be done by those who are twice born only. By doing this procedure, the Vedas get rejuvenated. Thus, it is indicated by the word apyayana. So, it is important to re-energize the Vedas every year by doing this procedure. So that was from Dr. S. Sundarajan of Trichy, and he wrote that day before yesterday. Okay, so on the 10th of July in 2020. So that's just a little bit about Upakarma. I guess we could talk some more about what's the meaning of it. But basically, the idea is that there are six duties of a twice born person, specifically of a Brahmin. He has yajana, yajana, patana, patana, dana, and pratikriya. So dana and pratikriya means he should give and receive charity or donations. Yajana means he should perform worship, he should perform sacrifice, and he should teach others or do sacrifice or teach others to do sacrifice. But most importantly, before he can do either of those things, in order to qualify himself for those things, for giving and taking of charity, right? Charity shouldn't just be given to anybody, and you shouldn't also take charity from just anybody. We know that from Bhagavad Gita, there are different forms of charity, in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. So that charity which is given at the right place, at the right time, to the right person, is charity in the mode of goodness, according to the Gita. So that's what we're aiming at when we're giving charity to a Brahmin. And when a Brahmin gives charity, he also aims at that, right? Because he's also supposed to give charity. So in order to be qualified for that, and in order to be qualified to perform sacrifice, right? Or to teach others or perform sacrifice for others, yajana, he also has to, just like we do the minimum Vedic for doing Vedic ceremonies. This doesn't apply to Tantric and Puranic and Pancharatric or Agamic ceremonies, but it applies purely to use of Vedic mantras. If you want to use the Vedas, you have to pay a tax, and that tax is you have to be qualified by doing minimum Sandhya Vandana 3 times a day. And that keep the chanting of the Gayatri Mantra and offering of argya to the sun with the solar mantra, which is the Brahma Gayatri or Savitri mantra. This is the essence of the Vedas. The Gayatri is the essence of the Vedas. So we have to keep that up every day. There are some other things which we can do every day, which can keep up that qualification. And that is, we can do the Brahma Yajna every day. So the Brahma Yajna is nothing but a ritualized form of study of the Vedas. Every day we chant, we take the four first verses of the Vedas and we chant them. And any other book, any other Shastric book that we're reading, we should chant the verse of that book too. Now it doesn't necessarily have to be the first verse. It can be any verse. But what we should do is we should chant the verse. We should chant the verse that we're studying at that particular time. So just like we go to, if maybe people have this experience, they've gone to a class of a Shastra, say the Bhagavatam. So you go to Bhagavatam class, or you go to Gita class, Bhagavad Gita class. And in the beginning of the class, we all get to chant the Sanskrit. Even the translation we might get to chant. We get to repeat and memorize, if possible. We can memorize also the sloka, the verse, the Sanskrit and the English, or whatever language it's translated into. So that is study of the scripture. That is study of the scripture. Now we also listen to the commentaries by different acharyas and the purport by a person who's giving the lecture or teaching the Shastra. So that's also important. Maybe we can't memorize all the commentaries of the acharyas, but maybe some important parts we might also want to memorize. But at least we understand, we're trying to understand the message. So the Vedas are there, and the Brahmin is supposed to study the Vedas. So we are actually supposed to, starting at Upakarma, the time for starting and ending your series of studies. So those persons who are perhaps familiar with schooling, there's the beginning of the school year and the end of the school year. So we say the first day of the first semester, right? The first day of school, right? We start with the first lesson. So that should happen at Upakarma. Upakarma is the beginning. It's the beginning of what we call Adhyayana, Veda Adhyayana. Adhyayana means study. Veda Adhyayana means study of the Vedas. So we're supposed to begin studying the Vedas. But in order to begin studying, we should end the previous year, right? So if we're studying every year the Vedas, we should end, first of all, our study for 2019 or whatever year it is, and we should begin our study for 2020. In this case, because Upakarma comes in the middle of the Gregorian calendar year, we could say we're finishing our 2019-2020 semesters, and we're beginning our course of Vedic study 2020-2021. Right? So that is Upakarma. It signifies the ending of the ending of one and the beginning of another. So every day we're supposed to be continuing to study. But what happens is people do this Brahma Yajna every day and they just chant the first 4 verses of the first 4 Vedas. They never get to verse 2. They never learn verse 2. So that's not really the way it's supposed to be. But it's just that's just made very simple for people who can't study the Vedas. So at least they should chant one part of something of the Vedas every day. Yeah. So it's like saying, it's like if somebody says to you, "Oh, you should read Bhagavad Gita every day." So, but yeah, okay, I read Bhagavad Gita every day. I read Jamakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveda Yutsavaha, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. I read that every day. But if you do that, you never get to Sarvadhamam Parityajya. You never get to the 18th chapter. You never get to so many instructions that Krishna gives. Yeah, you know that the Pandavas and the Kauravas are on the battlefield. But the rest of it, you don't know. So that is the situation we're in today. The situation in Kali Yuga today is that we have Brahmins, first of all, who don't study the whole Vedas. Not only they don't study the whole Vedas, they don't even do Brahma Yajna every day, chanting that one verse, the first verse. Maybe they don't even know the first verse. Not only that, they don't know the essence or the important verse, the Gayatri mantra, because they heard it one time when they took Brahman initiation, when they took Upanayana. And then they don't do Sandhya Vandana, so they've completely forgotten the essence of the Vedas or the Vedas altogether. So we have to do what we can to reestablish the knowledge of the Vedas and to reestablish the remembrance of the Vedas, right? Because that is one of these are the two other things. Remember, I said dana pratigriya, yajana, but to get the qualification to give and receive charity, to get the qualification to do sacrifice and teach others and do others sacrifice for others. To get that, we have to do patana and patana. Patana means we have to learn patana, and we have to learn the Vedas and we have to teach the Vedas. So, for all of those people I told, yeah, all you have to do is do Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now I'm telling you, that's only the very most basic minimal. In the Shastra it says, and even then I've given everybody a Krishna Yajurveda Sandhya Vandanam, which is also very simple. If we want to have another class, we can go over, I can tell you what Krishna Yajurveda Sandhya Vandanam can be, in a bigger form, a more complete form, let's say. Not that what I've given isn't complete. It's complete. It has the essentials there. But there are more things that can be done if you want to do, if you have the time to do, if you have the interest to do, if you have the inclination to do. If you have, if you want. So we can do that at some other time. So, Sandhya Vandanam is a must, because without Sandhya Vandanam, we're not considered Vedically pure enough to perform or to be a part of the Vedic samskaras. Now, do we have to be a part of the Vedic samskaras? I just did a discussion about what samskara means. I put it up on the internet yesterday. So, samskara is to purify ourselves. It's to purify our lives. We can do it in a social way, in a material way. We can also do it in a completely spiritual way. So that Vaishnavism and the completely spiritual way of doing Pancha Samskara and Vaishnava Diksha and everything like that, that's purifying in a spiritual way. And then the Varnashram system has these Vedic purifications. So today we're talking about that. We're talking about within the Varnashram system, the Dvijas, the people who have taken Upanayam, the people who are doing Sandhya Vandanam, they're doing Brahma Yajna every day, right? At the end of 1 year, they're studying the Vedas. At the end of 1 year, they should close out their period of study, and they should again start again, having given thanks to the rishis and to all the personalities that have helped us to learn the Vedas, and perhaps worshipping Vedavyas, the compiler and disseminator of the Vedas, right? Then we should go on. And what did it say? It said, because we don't actually study the Vedas, instead of studying the Vedas throughout the year, right? Because we don't, there's a thing called Karma Karshit Japa. There's a Prayaschita that we do at Upakarma because we didn't study the Vedas. So we do this to alleviate the sin that is committed because we didn't study the Vedas. We're in debt to the rishis. The rishis have given us the Vedas, the seers of the Vedas, and we're in debt to them. We're all born in debt to them. And therefore, we offer tarpanas, we offer water, oblations of water to them because of being in debt to them. So what I want to do now is I want to look at that's given a general overview. If anybody's got any other questions about or comments about what Upakarma is, right? Basically, let's sum it up. It's recharging your Brahma Tejas like you recharge your cell phone. It's making sure that the Vedas continue to be heard and chanted and taught and learned, right? It's the end of 1 year's Vedic recitation and study, the beginning of a new semester, a new term of study of and teaching of the Vedas, right? It's a chance for us to thank the rishis or sages who gave us the Vedas, the Vedic knowledge, right? And it's a way for us to perform prayaschitta or penance, or because we haven't done certain things during the year in studying in our study of the Vedas. So it's all those things. And we get to wear a new Brahmin thread. We get to know a new. This is maybe the least important part of it. Okay, so we put on a shiny white new thread. Okay, so the thread can also be changed at other times, and we've been all through that already. There's a separate class on changing of the Brahmin thread, which you can look up on my channel. And Yajnapadita Dharanam. If it's not clear which one it is, just let me know and I'll let you know the link. So now I'd like to look, and if there's no questions and comments at this point, I'd like to look at a full description of the Upakarma ceremony. And now remember, I'm going to be describing basically the basics of all Upakarmas, whether you belong to Krishna, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Rigveda, Atharvaveda, whatever it is. Just remember that Yajurveda Upakarma and Rigveda Upakarma are done on the Purnima of Shravana month. Some others like Samveda Upakarma, whatever, if people are interested in the Upakarmas or following of different other Vedic Vedas or sutras, then they can contact me and I can perhaps give them a little bit of information about those. So, Subhuti, do you have a question or a comment?
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Do you have a question or a comment?
Unfortunately, I opened just a little while ago. I didn't hear.
Do you have a question or a comment? Because I'm going to mute you if you don't have a question or a comment so I can continue. Do you have a question or a comment right now?
Not at present. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for attending. Thank you for coming. So, as you might, everybody who knows that, if you have a question or a comment, just unmute your microphone and ask the question or make a comment. If you don't have a question or comment, I usually mute everybody so that I don't get any background noise on the recording. That's all. That's the only reason. Okay, so now let's go and let's look at I'm going to share a screen with everybody of the full Upakarma outline, which I did many years ago. Can everybody see this? Yeah, I'll just assume that you can see it. All right. Full Upakarma, I'm going to go through this. Now, at any time, if anybody wants to ask about one of these steps, then you can just unmute and you can ask. Or if in case you don't want to have your audio recorded, right? You can use the chat. You can type a question or a comment in the chat. Everybody can see the chat. I'll put it there on the side. Okay. So there's an outline, and just an outline of full Upakarma. So brahmacharis should shave their heads, faces, and upper body. right? In fact, actually, there's a system called Sarvangam where people shave the whole of the body except for the eyebrows and the sika. So normally what you do is in India, you get a barber to come to your house and to shave your whole body like that. So, but here it says brahmacharis should at least shave their faces and upper body. So that means from the waist up. If you can't do that, then you can at least shave your face, and you should leave a sika or a kudumi. In Tamil it's called kudumi, or in English we call it a tuft of hair. And we can discuss some other time about what's the need for having a tuft. But normally in Shastras, there's a statement that in order to be qualified to perform Vedic rituals, one has to have a tuft or a sika and a sutra. So people normally say sika and sutra. Today, many people don't keep the tuft, they don't keep the sika. Still, they perform Vedic rituals. It's not correct, but anyway, some people do like that. Okay, so minimum for shaving is 4 fingers. That's angulas. So the width of a finger, is an angula, right? So it's about 2 centimeters. So let's say 4 fingers, about 8 centimeters back from the hairline. So when the hair, when your hair naturally grows, if you shave 4 fingers back, then you're going to have a huge sika, right? So different sampradayas and different groups of Brahmins, they have different types of sikas, different numbers of sikas, different sikas coming from different parts of the head. So we don't want to get into all of that right now. But normally the sikas the normal sika will be at the back of the head or the back of the head, and it would be, many people have described it the size of the footprint of a cow or a calf. So it's not so big. But there are traditions where it's bigger, traditions where it's smaller, traditions where it comes from the top of the head or the side of the head and comes over the front. The sika also has to be tied, right, every day like that. So there are a few different rules and regulations about keeping a sika. Okay. Those who do not shave, which is a lot of us right now during this pandemic, or grihastas, without a tuft or a sika or a kudami, must wear 3 pieces, 3 short pieces, which are called kata. A short piece means it's just maybe a span of a hand, just a short piece, a few inches long, of kusha grass or darba grass on the right ear. And that is considered a prayaschitta, or an atonement, for not keeping a sika or a tuft. Okay? So that applies to brahmacharis and grihastas, anybody who doesn't keep a tuft or sika. All right. Next stage is we should do morning bath. On the day of Shravana Purnima, we get up and we have to perform morning bath, and it has to be taken with full Vedic rites. We can discuss in a separate class what it means to take full Vedic type of bath, because it can be quite complicated. But basically, it involves immersion in a pure body of water. What do we mean by pure body of water? We mean a tank, a river, a pond, or a sea, an ocean. So any water that is kept in the ground, if it's kept in the ground, because Bhumi is the consort of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, so water that is kept in her directly is considered pure, because she's pure. Second best is if we take bath with water which we draw from a well directly with a pure vessel, or from some other place with a pure vessel. One of these tanks, rivers, seas, or something like that, if we take a pure vessel and take water from that and pour the water, that's the second best. It is unacceptable, according to Shastra, to take a ritualistic bath by just turning on the tap and letting water flow through a dirty tank or a dirty holding facility, through dirty pipes onto your head. Okay, so just normally taking a shower is not considered to be ritually purifying. Okay. Now, we may not have the option. Nowadays, many people live in such a situation as they don't have a swimming pool or a tank or a river or an ocean or a sea close by. They don't have a well or some body of water in the ground that they can pull a bucket of water from, a pure bucket of water from. So they have to take bath in the facilities that they have. So in any case, everybody has to take a bath. If you want to talk about baths, we can talk about baths. There are actually, I believe, there's maybe 7 or 8 different types of baths that can be taken. All of them are purifying. When we talk about being purified, there's 2 types of purification, of course. There's the gross purification of the material body of the 5 elements. And then there's a subtle purification. When we think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we've also become purified because of that. The verse to be remembered from Garuda Purana is Apavitra Pavitro Va. The word Va means or. Apavitra means impure. Pavitra means pure, right? Apavitra Pavitro Va. Whether you're pure or impure, and it says Apavitra Pavitro Va, Sarvavashtam Gatopi Va, Ya Smaret. If you, those persons who remember, Smaret means to remember, Pundarikaksha, if you remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's got lotus petal shaped eyes, you become purified. Sa Bahya Abhyantara. Bahya means outside, Abhyantara means inside. You become Suchihi, or you become pure inside and outside. So I think everybody knows this sloka. So morning bath has to be taken. So you take the morning bath. Then after you take the morning bath, you have to get ready. You have to wear proper clothing, proper ritualistic clothing to perform this ceremony. That means for grihastas, they wear what is called panchakacham. Panchakacham means a dhoti, which is folded in five places. 1 place on each hip, 1 place behind, and 2 places in front. Now, people who put on a regular dhoti like they do in ISKCON is only really 4 places. They don't do the other fold in the front. If anybody wants to learn about panchakacha, wearing panchakacha, the idea is that there are no open edges. There are no ends to the dhoti which are open, which are open. Okay. Brahmacharis wear a vesti. Some people might call this a lungi. Lungi is usually in India a term for the dress of Muslims. So I put it here, sarong. A sarong means just a piece of cloth which is wrapped around, much shorter than the panchakacha dhoti, and it just is wrapped around. The sannyasins and the brahmacharis, they wear this with an angavastram tied around the waist. So angavastram is a small piece of cloth which is used in sacrifice. Normally, it was a substitute for the yagyopavitra or the Brahman's bread. It's used also to cover, normally worn over, like the Brahman's bread, in the pavitra position over the left shoulder under the right arm, to free up the right arm for offering sacrifice and to cover the left side of the body, which is not considered as holy or as pure. Angavastram should be worn around the waist. This will be the easiest way to do it. If you want to wear the Angavastram in a different way, that you can, but when we get to the changing of the Brahman thread and doing other tarpanas and different things, it may get in the way. So the best thing to do is to simply wrap it around the waist And you can have it quite high, if you like, covering the navel. In fact, actually, there was an interesting thing that my Sanskrit professor in Sri Rangam just told me, is that there are actually some rules and regulations that say the dhoti should be tied below the waist, below the navel, and the Angavastra should go around above the navel. So somehow or other the navel is supposed to be exposed. I have to check on that. I have to find out the reference for that. So don't take that as being, exactly correct right now. So, we have to apply Tiraman and Sri Churna. Okay, so I've written the Sri Vaishnava names for Tilak here. Urdhva Pundra. Shamdas, I'm just going to mute you. If you have any questions or comments, you can unmute and you can ask. Urdhva Pundra means vertical Tilak. So, of course, there are other Brahmins who are not Vaishnavas. If you're not a Vaishnava, then you wear whatever kind of tilak or whatever caste mark or whatever you have that you do in your particular sect. But for the Vaishnavas, they should wear tilak, which is vertical. So either Gopi Chandanam or this Tiraman and Sri Churna, either the yellow kind or tan kind or the white and red tilak. Okay, so now that we're all normally all those rituals that involve taking bath and then putting on ritual attire and putting on tilak, that all should be gone through. So we don't need to go through all those rituals right now. But if somebody wants a special class on that, on how to wear the dhoti, how to wear the vesti, how to put on the ambavastram, how to put on the tilak, it's possible we could have a discussion about that later, separately. So the next stage is go to the puja room. Now I wrote puja room because mostly I'm writing this for grihastas. But you either go to the puja room or go to the place, the altar, where the Lord is, in the place where you're staying, and light the vilaku. Vilaku means standing lamp. That's the Tamil word for standing lamp. So you have a lamp and light the lamp. Offer pranams to the Lord, to the spiritual master, to the elders in your family. Pray for the successful completion of the Upakarma rites. Right? Pranams can be Astanga Pranam, Shastanga Pranam, which either different types of pranams are there, and we can discuss that at a different time. This is just an outline. The next thing that you should do is perform your morning Sandhyavandanam, which is called Prataha Sandhyavandanam. Prataha means morning. So we've already gone through this in a different class. We've already got procedures and everything for that. So everybody should know. If you don't know how to do Sandhyavandanam or Prataha Sandhyavandanam, then doing Upakarma is beyond you, and you should please stop and you should go and learn how to do Sandhyavandanam first. After you learn how to do Sandhyavandanam, then you can perform Upakarma. There's no point in performing Upakarma if you're not performing Sandhyavandanam. Okay, so after that Sandhyavandanam, morning Sandhyavandanam, the brahmachari should perform their Samhita Danam, and the grihastas should perform their morning Upasana Homam. Right? Now, for brahmacharis and grihastas, there are 2 Agni Karyas every day, morning and evening. For the brahmacharis, it is called Samhita Danam. It's a very short sacrifice. For the grihastas, it's also a very short sacrifice. The brahmacharis place sticks of wood in the fire with certain mantras, and they pray to get knowledge from the Supreme Lord, because they're students and they want to study the Vedas and they're praying for knowledge. The grihastas have to keep the sacred fires in their houses going for performing of different rituals. So they perform what is called the Upasana Homa. They have to ask permission from the wife. The wife gives permission, and then they offer some rice into just plain rice, usually into the fire, which has been kept alive, right? And that's the system of Upasana. Now, Upasana also means people who are performing upasana every 2 weeks, because the fire in the house becomes less strong, they have to offer a separate homa called ishti. There's Stalipaka. Excuse me, Stalipaka homa. So Stalipaka homa, where they actually cook rice on the fire and then offer the cooked rice into the fire and make it stronger. So there are these. Now, grihastas also can have, optionally, they can also have, it's not really optional, but these days it's optional, no, people don't do it, is that they also are supposed to perform another homa called morning and evening. So they have this upasana homa morning and evening. Brahmacharis have their samhita dana morning and evening. The grihastas have upasana homa morning and evening. And the grihastas also have another one called Agnihotram. Agnihotram is one of the 40 samskaras. We had a class on samskaras just recently, and we described there are 40 samskaras, not 16, not 2, not 3, but 40, out of which 21 of them are Vedic sacrifices, Paka Yagyas, Soma Yagyas, and Havir Yagyas, which are not performed by most people today. There are a few people called Agnihotris who are or Vaidikas, right? Who are doing those. Very, very few people. So perhaps out of 1,000 strict Brahmins who are performing Sandhya Vandana and Upakarma and all these things, maybe one or two people out of 1,000 of them are doing these Agnihotra, these Vedic Shraddha ceremonies these days. Okay, so Alpasanam is the normal morning and evening fire ritual for the Grihastha. Then he should perform the Vaishvadevam. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on this, because I believe the Vaishvadevam, I'm not sure if the Vaishvadevam is done here or is done a little bit later, because Vaishvadevam is what we call Panchamahayagyas. Now, there are 5 sacrifices every day that a Grihastha has to do. It's a lot easier for a brahmachari. He just does the Samhita Dana. 5 sacrifices a Grihastha have to do, which involve offering of rice and offering of certain water for appeasement of particular devatas and rishis and pitris that he does every day. Right? So this is called Vaishvadevam or Pancha Mahayagya. So we could have a whole other class on that. Mostly people are not doing it. So this step 6, if you don't know how to do those things, if you're a brahmachari and you don't know how to do Samhita Danam, if you're a grihastha and you don't know how to do Upasanam, or if you don't know how to do Vaishvadevam, then you can just omit this step. But in a full Upakarma scenario, this is what people do. Now, next, the next step, we can optionally do a Yagyopavita, Prana Pratishta, and Dharna. What do I mean by? We have covered in another class, we covered Yagyopavita Dharna. Dharna means to wear a new Yagyopavita, to wear a new Brahman thread. Yeah? Yagyopavita Prana Pratishta we haven't covered because most people don't do it these days. Again, a very ancient practice where somebody makes their own Brahman threads, they spin their own cotton, they make their own threads, they chant mantras when they tie the knots, they invoke deities in the knots of the Brahman thread, they do prana pratishta of different deities in the Brahman thread before wearing the Brahman thread, the new Brahman thread. So there are some people interested in reviving this ancient ceremony, and we have some procedures that are possible for people to learn. There's also, I have a video of Madhva Brahmins doing it. It's quite a simple sort of ceremony. It can be quite simple. So if people want to learn how to do this, maybe I'm not quite sure if I could teach people how to actually make a Brahman thread, but anyway, we could do the prana pratishta on the Brahman threads that we buy also. And Dharnam. So that would happen here optionally. Why do I say optionally? Because later on we're going to do it again. So you either do it here once and then do it again, or you just wait until later and do it again. So it's done again after the Mahasankalpa. What do I mean by Mahasankalpa? We have simple sankalpas. If anybody doesn't know what a sankalpa is, then you can ask me later. We can have more of a class on what a sankalpa is. The word sankalpa means a vow. When we take a vow, before we perform any ritual or we get into any sort of rite, then we do what's called a sankalpa. Sankalpa means it's a ritual statement of time, place, and person who is going to perform a particular ceremony. A Mahasankalpa is bigger because it includes much more information about the time and the place and the intention. So it's done again after Mahasankalpa. The Yajnapadita Pradishtha and Dharana is done again after the Mahasankalpa. So if you want to only do it once, then you don't do it at this time. Right. So what should we do when we change the brahmacharya? It should, when I say a set, I say one set for brahmacharis, 2 sets for grihastas, and one more set which can be used as a covering. So the sacred thread itself is like a covering. It's like it's like an angavastram. It's like a chadar that we wear over the sacrificial chadar. So usually they come in sets. The set is, there are three strands of cotton which are tied together with a particular type of knot called a Brahma Granthi. That Brahma refers to Brahman, the Supreme, and not to the four-faced Brahma, who is the creator or subsequent creator of this material world. So the Brahma Granthi connects these 3 strands of cotton. It's actually one continuous strand with 3 times around the knees. And it should not reach down lower than the waist, and it should not be too high and not too low. And there are ways of tying it, if you have a longer one, tying it up, making sure it doesn't reach down too far. But that's a whole other discussion. Normally we just try to buy the length which is good for us. So each set is of 3 strands. So a brahmachari can wear just one set of 3 strands for himself. A grihasta should wear 2, 1 strand for himself and 1 strand for his wife. And sannyasins normally, if there are Dvaita sannyasins, if they're Mayavadi sannyasins or non-Vaishnava sannyasins or Madhvas, then they don't wear any Yajnapadita, but they do have a Yajnapadita, which is tied up around their danda and covered by a piece of deer skin to keep it pure. Yes, deer skin covering it makes it pure. Okay. So they keep it there. For sannyasins, other sannyasins like 3 Vaishnava sannyasins, they actually wear another one. They actually wear 3 sets. So they'll wear 9 strands, right? And some people, what they do is they add an extra string, an extra set as a chadar to cover whichever other sets they wear. So that would mean as a brahmachari, if you're wearing 1 set, if you want to cover it with another set, you can put a second set on. For a grihastha who has 2, he can put another one on and wear 3. For a sannyasi who wears 3, he can put another one on and wear 4. So sometimes you see this, that people do, they cover it with an extra one, that way it's covered. And that's the maximum number of strings that I've seen anybody ever wear.
When do you put the 3rd one on the covering?
You would just, you would probably just put it on after the second one. So since we put on each one separately,
yeah,
right? Then if we want to put a 3rd or a 4th one on, we'd have to do another sankalpa and just put another one on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So the next step is what we call karmo karshin japa. So there's the mantra karmo karshid manyurakashid. Karmo karshid manyurakashid namo namaha, comes from the Vedas. And in essence, what it's saying is, please forgive me if I committed any sin. It was the karma, it was the lust, or it was the desire within me that made me sin. And therefore, just forgive me because of my tendency to desire something which shouldn't be desired. So kamokashin japa, and usually that is done. You can do that with a japa mala, or you can count it on your fingers. People do 108 times this mantra. Some people chant it kamokashin manyurakashin, kamokashin manyurakashin, kamokashin manyurakashin, right? Some people chant kamokashin manyurakashin namo namaha, kamokashin manyurakashin namo namaha, kamokashin manyurakashin namo namaha. Whichever way you chant it, normally people chant 108, some people chant 1,008 times. Okay? There's a procedure for doing that. Then, after you finish that, you do what is called madhyanika. Madhyanika means your midday duties. Madhyanika includes, here, I've put here madhyanika vapanam and snanam. What is vapanam? Vapanam means shaving. So if you didn't shave before, or if you didn't want to shave, you don't have to shave. But if you didn't shave before, then you can shave at this time. And we'd already discussed, how the shaving has to be done, what has to be shaved, and what has to be left unshaved. And then again, Shnanam, Madhyanika Shnanam. So again, a Vedic purificatory bath with Vedic mantras to purify oneself before doing the rest of the midday duties. So what are the other midday duties? So what it says is brahmacharis can shave here if they haven't done before. Everyone should take proper Vedic immersion bath as in the morning. Okay, so the next thing is Madhyanika Sanyavandanam, which means noon Gayatri, an offering of Tarpana to the sun, offering of Arghya, to the sun, Suryarghya. After Madhyanika Sanyavandanam, Brahma Yagyam, which we described before, was the chanting of at least one verse or one section, can be more, of all the different books shastras that we're studying. So I have a very complicated Brahma Yagya. If anybody's really interested in doing proper Brahma Yagya, which you can add, if you're studying the Bhagavatam, you're studying Bhagavad Gita, also one verse from all the books that you're studying. But the minimum is Gayatri Mantra and the 4 verses from the Vedas, first verses of each Veda Samhita. So Brahma Yagya is performed. After Brahma Yagya, then we have Deva Rishi Pitri Tarpanam. Tarpanam means the offering of water through the hands. And there are different places on the hand where we offer water. We offer water to the Devas through the Deva Tirtha. We offer water to Brahma through the Brahma Tirtha, or we take water in Achmana through the Brahma Tirtha for ourselves. We offer through the Rishis, through the Rishi Tirtha and the Pitris between the thumb and the forefinger of Pitri Tirtha. So, the Deva Rishi Pitri Tarpanam is performed, and we can go into that in detail. Then we have the Mahasankalpa. So only at this point do we get to the Mahasankalpa. We do a Mahasankalpa. There might be other smaller Sankalpas or ritualistic statements of vows that we do for each one of these steps. Of course, Sanyavandana itself, Brahma Yagya itself, all these things, even the bath, there's a Sankalpa for bath. So we've already done a lot of Sankalpas. So next we have to do, by the way, for those persons who are Sri Vaishnavas, there's a Sattvika Tyaga mantra to be done before we start the whole thing, and a Sattvika Tyaga mantra to be done after we finish. Mahasankalpa comes next. Mahasankalpa comes next. Then we have, again, another bath after Mahasankalpa, right? So this would be what? This would be maybe Sorry about that. Another ritualistic bath. Quite a lot of baths there if you want to do this thing fully. Before doing the Yajna Pavitradhanam, or at least Prokshanam. Prokshanam is a type of sprinkling. There are also different types of sprinklings, right? There are different ways to sprinkle water, and they all have a different purpose, and we can go into that separately. If we have a class on more exacting Sanyavandana or more complicated Sanyavandana, we can talk about the different methods of sprinkling. But Prokshana basically means taking some water and sprinkling it on yourself as to purify yourself. So this is also another type of bath, and there will be mantras chanted at the time of sprinkling. So instead of taking a full immersion bath, one could do a sprinkling here at this point. Then we again do this Yajna Pavitra Pranapratishta and Dharanam. So that would mean changing the thread again. If you don't want to do it twice, then you can just do it at this time and not do it the previous time. One set for brahmacharis, 2 sets for grihastas, 1 more set is sometimes added as a covering, as I said before. The brahmachari should then wear a monji, ajina, and hold a palasha danda. Okay. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention something back here with Kamokasha Japa. If it's your first Sanyavandana, your first Upakarma. If it's your first Upakarma, so you just got Upanayanam, you're a young person, you just got Upanayanam, and this is the first time you've come to the Upakarma ceremony, you don't have to do the Kamokasha Japa. Okay? All right. So now we go to Yajna Pavitra Dharma. Okay, wear the monji. Monji is a type of belt made of kusha grass, which the brahmacharis wear in the Upanayanam ceremony. Ajina means deer skin, a deer skin covering. And a palasha danda, a danda is a stick, and brahmacharis have one made out of palasha wood. Okay, so if these things are not available, you can just leave it out. Okay, and this is for brahmacharis only. After this, we do a tarpanam, another tarpanam for Kanda rishis. These are the rishis of different rishis of the Vedas, right? And you have to note here that if you are followed by Pitri tarpanam if your father is not alive. So you have to do the Kanda rishi tarpanam, and if your father is not alive, you have to also do the Pitri tarpanam. But if your father is alive, he should be doing the Pitri tarpanam for your family, for his father. Whoever, if your grandfather's still alive, then he won't be doing it, and the grandfather will be doing it. So whoever is the patriarch, the oldest male member of the family, will be doing the Pitri tarpanam for his father, who is gone to Pitri Loka. And the others, younger members of the family don't have to do that, but they still have to do the Kanda rishi tarpanam. Okay. Now, the next step is to do Ganesh Puja or Vishvaksena Puja. So why do we say this? Because Smartas and many other people, many other sects, even Vaishnavas, there are people who will do Ganesh Puja. And then there are other people, the Sri Vaishnavas will do Vishvaksena Puja only. And if those persons in Gaudiya Sampradaya who are following the Sakriya Sardipika, perhaps they might also do Vishvaksena Puja. After that, Punya Vachanam. This is the regular Vedic Punya Vachanam, not to be confused with the Punya Vachanam which is done in Pancharatric rites called Vasudeva Punya Vachanam. This is the calling of Varuna and worshipping of Varuna in a pot and purifying the water with Vedic mantras and sprinkling of the water. Then next we do this Veda Vyasa Puja. So one can do the worship of Veda Vyasa. And optionally, one could also worship Lord Hayagriva, who is the god, the Vishnu avatar that gives us knowledge. Jnananandamayam devam nimanaspatikakritim adharam sarvavidyanam Hayagrivam upasmahe is the statement. It comes from Hayagriva Stotram by Vedanta Deshika, a very famous verse, requesting Lord Hayagriva to give us knowledge. And the reason why we can do this also today is because not only do we want Vedic knowledge, but also we want all types of knowledge, and it is Lord Hayagriva's appearance day on this same day. Now, obviously, if you're not a Rigvedi or a Yajurvedi, then your Upakarma day is on a different day, but the date for Yajurveda Upakarma and Rigveda Upakarma is also the same day, Shravana Purnima, of the appearance of Lord Hayagriva. The next thing to do is that there is a homa called Shravana Homa. We have to go into that in detail if people want to do the Shravana Homa. Then Veda Arambha. Veda Arambha means starting the Vedic study. Starting the Vedic study. After this, there will be Naivedyam, Arti, and Prasadam. So the offering of foodstuffs to the Lord, and the Arti, or offering of lamps, like that, and then Prasadam, right? Sambhavana Ashivadam. Sambhavana means that if you're engaging a priest to help you perform this ceremony, you have to give dakshina to that priest, and that priest will give you blessings or Ashivadam. After that, Sayam Sandhyavandana. So main ceremony is over. The participants then have to do their third Sandhyavandana of the day, as they do every day, right? The evening Sandhyavandana. After this, brahmacharis should perform their evening Samhita Danam fire ceremony, and grihasthas should perform their evening Upasana Homa. And if they're doing Agnihotra as well, they have to do their evening Agnihotra. Okay, now that's the first day. There's actually 2 days. Upakarma takes 2 days to do. This is the main ritual that happens on the first day. The next day is not usually called Upakarma, it's usually just called Gayatri Japa, because the main ritual on the next day is the Japa of the Gayatri mantra. So, the next day, again, morning bath, Vedic bath in a pure body of water like a tank, a river, or an ocean, right? Grihasthas wear ritual clothing and put on tilak, and brahmacharis wear their ritual clothing and put on their tilak with angavastram and urvapundram. Prataha Sandhyavandanam as normal, like every day, do the morning Sandhyavandana ritual. Then the brahmacharis have to perform as normal their morning Samhita Danam and Grihasthas Upasanam and Vaishvadevam. If they do Agnihotram, they have to do their morning Agnihotram as well. Then comes the Gayatri Japam. So this is a specific Gayatri Japam. Now you notice we just did Prataha Sandhyavandanam. In Prataha Sandhyavandanam, there's Gayatri Japam, right? But this is a special Gayatri Japam, again, on top of the regular Gayatri Japam that we do in Sandhyavandanam 3 times a day. This is a special one that we do once a year, and we do, some people do 108, some people do 1008, some people maybe even do more than that. We do a lot of Gayatri Japam as a prayaschitta for some other things, or to just build the tejas, the Brahma tejas, to make our Brahminical energy much stronger. Okay, after that Gayatri Japam, again, Madhyanika Sandhyavandanam. Now, we could also put in here Madhyanika Snanam, right? Just as we did the day before. So if you want, you can take another bath before you do the Madhyanika Sandhyavandanam. Take the Madhyanika Snanam. Then Brahma Yagyam, again, like the day before, actually like it's supposed to be done every day. And then in the evening, Sayam Sandhyavandanam, and the brahmacharis perform their Samhita Danam, and the grihasthas the Upasanam, and if they do it, Agnihotram. So that is the end of the 2 days. That's a full outline of Upakarma. So I'm going to unshare the screen now, and I'm looking here. Okay, so Deva Rishi asked me a question. What about borehole? I have no idea what the word borehole means. Can you explain to me, Deva Rishi, what you mean by borehole?
Hare Krishna Guruji, it's a kind of tap water that is under the ground. They use a machine.
I see. Like in Mayapur, they have a tube well. They have a bore.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one I have two in my backyard in Sri Rangam. It's called a bore. Okay, a bore well. A bore well. A bore well, the water is coming up, right? The water is coming up through a tube. What is the tube made of?
Plastic.
It's made of plastic. Is plastic pure? Is plastic a pure substance?
No.
Okay, so did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so we have another question here by Dear Nitai. What if the daughter is Dvija but not married? What if the daughter is Dvija but not married? The daughter is Dvija but not married. Okay. This system of Upakarma presupposes that what we're talking about is male Dvijas, because at the present time, mostly only male Dvijas wear the sacred threads and learn the Vedas. But if women are learning the Vedas and if they're wearing sacred threads and if they take Upanayam, then they also have to do the same thing. So the same applies to women if they're Dvijas and they're learning the Vedas, performing Sandhya Vandana, wearing sacred threads, doing all those things, then the same thing applies to them. Should we wear extra upavita for her? Wearing an upavita for your daughter, is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's logical. That's logical. If you have an unmarried daughter who is a Dvija, if the ladies don't want to wear the sacred thread, there are some ladies who wear the sacred thread. There's iconography in India of deities that wear sacred threads, female deities that wear sacred threads. There's even iconography of forms of Devi that carry a danda. Okay, so it's possible that it's possible to wear a thread for normally the idea in medieval Shmriti Shastra is that the ladies get the Mangal Sutra when they get married, and that their marriage ceremony is equivalent to the Upanayanam ceremony, right? So normally we don't think of ladies as having a separate Upanayanam. But if ladies did do a separate Upanayanam, if they went to the Gurukula and studied the Vedas and did a separate Upanayanam, then they would probably wear the sacred thread also. There are examples of groups that do that today. And so it just depends. If the ladies in your tradition don't wear sacred threads, but they're still studying and chanting the Vedas and whatever, then someone else can wear the sacred thread for them if they want. Yeah, I mean it's a really hypothetical question because we don't know of any. I mean, you have to decide for yourself. Our ritual actions are based upon our philosophy. Whatever your doctrine says, if your doctrine says that the ladies are studying the Vedas, then they have the right to wear the sacred thread. If the doctrine says the ladies don't have the right to study the Vedas, then they don't have the right to wear the sacred thread. It goes along with studying the Vedas. The sacred thread goes up. And similarly, if you're not interested in the Vedic rituals, Vedic mantras, Vedic samskaras, if you want to do everything in just a purely Vaishnava agamic way, there's no need for a sacred thread, and there's no need for these things. Still, the word Dvija means simply twice born. Sometimes we think of Vaishnava initiation as a birth. But in the Vedic sense, the twice born is the Upanayanam ceremony. And for the women, the more in medieval Varnashram system, the marriage ceremony. But in the Vaishnava system, twice born means simply when you take initiation. So when somebody takes initiation, they're twice born. So whether that person has the right to wear the sacred thread or not is a matter of contention amongst different groups. Some people say certain people, both men and women, are not eligible to wear the sacred thread unless they're born in a particular family, in a particular gender, and have followed, and their families have followed all the samskaras and all the rituals before them. And other people say that, like Lord Krishna says, that varna or caste is according to qualification, according to action, and according to qualification, and not according to birth. So it depends completely upon your doctrine, what your practice is. So as with everything, we get our doctrine right first, and then we can adapt our practice to our doctrine. Whatever doctrine we follow, we can follow the practice. So you have to think about, you have to know whatever the doctrine is that you follow or your group follows, then you have to follow that.
Yes.
As far as the practice.
But it's not even hypothetical for us in ISKCON, because we have such cases. And for me, it was logical if I'm wearing for my wife, who is second initiated in ISKCON, and if the daughter is second initiated, then somehow it would be logical that I wear also for the daughter. That was my line of thought.
What's really logical is that the wife and the daughter should wear the sacred thread.
Okay.
That's the first thing. That's what I said. That's the first thing. Why they can't wear the sacred thread?
Well, it's not a tradition.
It is tradition.
Established yet.
No, it is.
I mean, but in ISKCON,
it is more ancient. It's more ancient tradition than the tradition that's there. That's the point. What is the tradition of white foreigners wearing the sacred thread? What is the tradition of white foreigners taking sannyas? What is the tradition of anybody outside of the medieval Varnashram system doing anything to do with the Vedas? What is the tradition of us doing Upakarma? What is the tradition of us doing? What is the tradition of us doing Upakarma? What is the tradition of us doing Sanyavandana? What is the tradition of us doing Vedic samskaras? What's the tradition? So when you say there's no tradition, okay, there's ancient Vedic tradition. The Vedas. Do we believe the Vedas are only for Indians? Are Vedas only for Indians? First of all, what is India? There is no such place as India in the scriptures. If you search any scripture, I tell you, I dare you to search any scripture to find a place called India in the scriptures. There is no place called India in the scriptures. Where is India? India is only a country that was born in 1947. Before 1947, there was no India. The Hindu empire, the empire of the Hindus was spread all over, at least historically that we know of. The Hinduism went all the way up to Afghanistan and Iran. You have great sages, people, great personalities like Panini was born in Afghanistan. You're studying Sanskrit, Panini was born in Afghanistan. You have evidence of Ganesh temples all the way as far as China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Indonesia. All these places had Vedic culture before. So they even still have there are still some Hindus there today. You go to Bangkok and you can see the Ramayana, is there in the inside of the king's palace. You go to Cambodia and you see the biggest Hindu temples in the world. You go to Bali and you see people still practicing form of Agama Hinduism. So, and then in modern times, you have the Indian diaspora. Even after 1940, you have Indian people going all over the world. Whereas if you read the medieval Shastras, the Smriti Shastras, like Manu and whatever, it says that a Brahman is a Dvija, a twice-born person is supposed to live only between the two oceans, meaning the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, the Himalayas in the north, and the Vindhyas, which is just south of Madhya Pradesh, right? And you should live there only. The Brahmins should live only in that place. That's according to Shastra. So if you live in South India, you're living outside of the place where Brahmins should actually live. What to speak of living in Hawaii or living in the USA or living in the UK or Germany. These places are not places that Brahmins are supposed to live. There are many people also who believe that that any karmas performed in these places bear no fruit. Doesn't matter what you do in other countries, bears no fruit. You can only that you have your Punya Bhumi is that area between the Vindhyas and the Himalayas and the two seas. That's your Punya Bhumi. That's the place where you do a ceremony and it produces a good result, Punya Bhumi. And you just go to other places because you want to make money. People go to America, they go to other places, they just want to make money. They cross the sea, they lose their caste. They can't perform it, they become completely, they become contaminated, ritualistically impure by crossing the sea. How many times have we crossed the sea? I live in Hawaii. How many times have I crossed the sea? To start with, I'm born in a low caste family according to the Smriti Shastras, right? I have no right to any samskaras at all, Vedic samskaras, right? Studying the Vedas, you know? There's no tradition of all these things in medieval Hinduism. Now, in the ancient times, if we think that the Vedas are eternal and the Vedas are for everybody, and the Vedas are not only for people on this planet, but for every planet, the Vedas contain absolute knowledge for everybody. If we actually believe this, how can we limit the Vedas to only the people that live in Madhya Pradesh in India and Uttar Pradesh in India, or just between those two seas and the two sets of mountains? How can we limit it to only the people who live in modern 1947 plus India? If you go to Bali today, every school child knows Gayatri Mantra and chants Gayatri Mantra at the beginning of every lesson in the morning in the school. That is from the Vedas. So what is that? Where is that written in the Smriti Shastras? That's not written in the Smriti Shastras. People won't agree with that. People say, no, how can everybody chant the Gayatri Mantra? But everybody has a right to spiritual knowledge. Everybody has a right to spiritual knowledge because everybody is a spiritual personality. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Brahmani Gavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakicha Pandita Samadarshanaha. A really intelligent person sees everybody spiritually equal. So spiritually you're equal. Materially you're not equal, but spiritually you're equal. And therefore, if it has to do with the spirit, learning spiritual things, teaching spiritual things, performing spiritual activities that has to do with it. Your qualification is the same as somebody who was born in India with all the samskaras, right? In order to become qualified to perform Vedic rituals and things like that, there are some standards. Just like if we want to drive a car, we need to learn properly and we have to get a license. Like that, but everybody has the chance to do that. So some people think like that. Other people think, no, you don't have the capability of doing that. You're barred from doing that by birth, either because you're not a male, or you're not born in a particular caste or a particular family or in a particular country, right? So it completely depends upon what your faith is. If your faith is in a certain system, then you should follow that system in your rituals. So if your faith is that somebody is a Dvija, Therefore, they can learn the Vedas. Therefore, they have Upanayam. They can have Upanayam. Part of Upanayam is taking the sacred thread. So if you say somebody is a Brahmin, if somebody's a Dvija, somebody's equal to a Dvija, then if he's equal to a Dvija, he's equal to a Dvija, or she's equal to a Dvija. Either she's equal to a Dvija or she's not equal to a Dvija. And people have different, of course, people have different opinions. People will say, oh, okay, there's a Brahmin and there's a Brahmani. There's a wife and the wives in this ancient times, the wives would act like this. But in the very ancient times, in the Vedic times, in the medieval times, yeah, the women were, perhaps not going to the Gurukula. They were not learning the Vedas. But we see there are Rishikas. In the Vedas, there are actually female seers in the Vedas. Gargi. We can have a whole discussion about it. But in the ancient Vedic times, there were people. In the Chandogya Upanishad, we have this Satyakam Jabala. There was a boy who was the son of a bastard son of a maidservant, and he went to the Guru and said, I want to join the Gurukul and learn Vedas. And the Guru said, are you a Brahmin? Are you born? What's your caste? The boy came back and said, my mother doesn't know my father even. How could he have a pure birth? Doesn't even know his father is. So, yet the Guru accepted him because he said, you told the truth. Because you told the truth, you have the qualification. Right? In Kali Yuga, there's only really one thing left, and it's truth. So if there's no truth, there's no qualification. But truth.
What about this argument that when they say, well, Acharya didn't establish that practice, so we should not change it? Certainly also there in Ramanuja.
Which Acharya?
Like they say, Srila Prabhupada didn't give the sacred threads to ladies.
Okay.
So we should also not overstep Acharya, and we should not change in that way.
Bhakti Siddhanta didn't give Savitri Gayatri to ladies.
Yeah.
Bhaktivinoda didn't wear a Brahmin thread. So it seems like different acharyas are coming along and changing things. They're adding things. So if somebody wants to freeze tradition, they want to freeze tradition in a certain way. They want to say, okay, the tradition is like this now, right? And it can't ever change.
I mean,
then I say, in the ancient Vedic times, it was like this. Why don't we go back to where it was in the ancient Vedic time?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, I mean, which Acharya? I can understand if normally the point is like this. People have this, especially in ISKCON, you hear this, but you hear it outside too, no change. It's called no change philosophy. People say, well, I'm conservative. I don't want any change. Since 1977, there have been so many changes in ISKCON. The changes which people like, the changes which the leadership likes, they accept. But when certain people in the leadership don't like a change, they reject it. What I'm saying is, change in itself is not bad, right? Just like the whole problem they have with the editing of the books, certain things in books, right? Change isn't bad because the argument by the BBT people is, oh, we are changing things back to be more like the way that Prabhupada wrote them originally or dictated them, and the change that other people are saying is no. So they're saying there are other people that change things after Prabhupada spoke it. They made a misinterpretation. They made a mistake, and it wasn't his mistake. And therefore, we want to go back to what was before that. And then other people say, no, but you're changing things. You're changing things. So what is change? What is change? If there was a certain standard in the beginning, in the Vedas, if I can show you in the Upanishads that there was a standard that the guru accepted this person who was born. He didn't know his father. Because he spoke the truth, he was accepted into the Gurukul, accepted to learn Vedas, right? Accepted to give, to means he has to have Upanayana. The guru must have given him Upanayana because to be in the Gurukul, to study the Vedas, one has to do Sanyavandanam, and he has to do Upakarma, he has to do all these things. So the guru wouldn't have said, oh, you know what? We're going to have a whole classroom here, and everybody has Upanayana, everybody does Sanyavandanam, and everybody does Upakarma, and everybody does Brahma Yagya, except for this one kid. I'm going to have one kid sit there, and he doesn't have to wear a sacred thread. He doesn't have to do any of these things, but yet he can still learn the Vedas and teach the Vedas. Is that what you're saying? Is that what happened in the Chandogya Upanishad? Or, like I'm saying, logically, the kid that joined that Gurukul, Satyakam Jabala, when he joined that Gurukul, even though he was low born, right? He was allowed to learn the Vedas, chant the Vedas, teach the Vedas. He must have had Upanayanam also. He would have had a sacred thread. He would have done Sanyavandanam. He would have done Samhita Danam. He would have done all these things because he's being admitted to the class. Is it not logical if you have let's say you have you have an institution today and you're learning to be a doctor, right? So you have all these people who are qualified to go and learn to be a doctor. So they all show up, like that. And then one person, they're all the same. All the students are treated the same in an institution, isn't it? Your dear Nidai, your daughter is chanting the Vedas, no? So is she qualified to chant the Vedas?
Yes.
Yes, or should she be killed according to Gautama Smriti? There's a book called Gautama Smriti, and it says that persons who are unfit to hear and chant the Vedas, they should be killed. If they hear the Vedas and they're unfit to hear the Vedas, molten lac should be poured into their ears until they die. And if they speak the Vedas, they should be pierced with a spear until they die. Right? So, is your daughter qualified to hear the Vedas?
Yes.
Is she qualified to chant the Vedas?
Yes.
Is she qualified to do Sanyavandanam?
Yes.
Is she qualified to do Upakarma?
Yes.
Is she qualified to do Brahma Yagya?
Yes.
Is she qualified to do Agnihotra?
She didn't learn yet.
But is she qualified to?
Yes. Yes.
So? Then why do we think that she's not qualified to wear a sacred thread?
Yeah, I see the logic. Yeah.
There is a slightly, in ISKCON, there's a thing, okay, when Prabhupada established temples in India, right? He established a standard in Vrindavan, in Krishna Balaram temple, because Vrindavan was a very orthodox place or traditional place, let's say, right? That the women would not go on the altar and do artis. When I joined ISKCON, and ISKCON temples all over the world, women are pujaris. They do open artis. There'll be a woman there doing an arti, doing a ceremony on the altar. Yeah, but not in Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. They don't allow it. They don't let the women come into the deity room. They allow the women to dress the little deities. They bring the little deities out and take them outside into another room, and they let the women dress them. They let the women make the turbans for the deities down below Krishna Balaram temple. They have the deity paraphernalia room, and they let the women put the deities' clothes away. They let the women make special turbans for the deities, which the pujaris can take up and just put on the deity. So they let the women perform certain parts of deity worship. They let the women cook for the deities. But they don't want the women out there in front doing an arti, because they don't want to offend some people who may not think the women are qualified to do that, right, in the Vrindavan area, right? But in the rest of the world, women are doing that too. That's a double standard. That's what we call a double standard. Now, Prabhupada also wrote that what we do in India may not be exactly the same standard as what we do in other places. So that was his idea. But certainly in India today, there are women who are acting as purohits, especially in Orissa and Maharashtra. It's becoming more common. There are women who are doing fire sacrifices, agnihotras. There are women who are doing all sorts of things nowadays. If you go to the market in India and you say, give me a recording of Gayatri Mantra, more than likely you're going to get a recording of a woman singing Gayatri Mantra. Nobody, from the loudspeakers of the Sri Rangam temple and every temple in South India, they play the Vishnu Sahasranam chanted by M.S. Subbalakshmi. That's the example of the best chanting of Vishnu Sahasranam. Everybody follows that. Everybody likes that. It's a lady. So, you know, and also I will tell you, okay, my wife was a pujari in Delhi temple. And I can name other women also, pujaris in many temples in ISKCON. Before it was a really big temple. When it became a really, really big temple and they built a new temple in Delhi and they inaugurated and everything like that, now they have a similar standard to like Vrindavan. But in the old days, in ISKCON, in India even, in the little centers, the women were also doing arti. The women were also cooking. The women were also dressing. They were doing all those things. And when they made the new temple, so what is changing? Because at the time of Prabhupada, women were doing puja in India in ISKCON temples. So who changed it? Prabhupada specifically about Krishna Balaram because it was a very orthodox, Vrindavan was an orthodox place. Prabhupada also, he had the deities installed by the local Brahmins. There's a guy called Bhimashen Shastri who had a group of people. And they're not really Vaishnavas, more like Smartas. But everybody in Vrindavan accepts those people as being the local priests. So Prabhupada hired those local priests and they installed the deities. And afterwards, Prabhupada wrote in Chaitanya Charitamrita that he didn't like the way they did it. He felt that they were too much non-Vaishnava. They were too Hindu, too Karmakanda. You know, he didn't like their style. And I know those people personally. I went to those people and I asked them for tapes and for audios of mantras and things like that. I know them like that. They're not Vaishnavas, but they're accepted as the priests in Vrindavan to install the deity. What did Prabhupada say? The real installation was the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and he wanted his disciples to. He said, that's what I consider to be the real installation, the real calling of Krishna is by calling his name and asking him to come.
Now, what is interesting is that Srila Prabhupada actually invited his godbrothers. There are two letters to Sridhar Swami and Madhava Swami from Gaudiya Math, and he wrote, I want to install the deities according to all the rituals from Hari Bhakti Vilasa. But they didn't accept the invitation. So he went with this other priest from Vrindavan.
Yeah. So, what can you do? What can you do? So, somebody, look, I understand if people say things in ISKCON, we only want to do things the way Prabhupada did it. But Prabhupada did things really different than the way things are being done today. And his guru did things a little different too. The common thread, the common philosophy is that we believe that Dvijahood, Brahmanhood, is not according to caste, it's not according to birth, it's not according to gender, right? We believe that second birth comes from approaching a guru and being initiated by that guru. That's what we believe. So our actions, our ritual actions should reflect that. If somebody says to me, quite frankly, if somebody says to me, why is it that women can do arti in Radhadesh in Belgium, but in Vrindavan they cannot? I'll say that is the fault of people, both inside and outside ISKCON, thinking that they have to do something to appease people who don't understand the principle that we are all created spiritually equal, and that every one of us, by our qualification, not by our gender, not by our birth, not by our caste, can attain a certain level of spiritual advancement where our qualification, where we can do that ceremony. So I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. I think ISKCON, in the beginning, ISKCON had to be in the beginning of ISKCON in India, ISKCON had to be quite careful not to be rejected by the mass of Indians. But I think ISKCON is totally accepted by the mass of Indians today in India. So things that ISKCON does in India, pretty much everybody accepts. So if ISKCON were to allow women to do open artis in India, and they do, remember that ISKCON does allow it in smaller temples. They just don't allow it in bigger temples in more orthodox places. Bigger temples or more orthodox places is where they don't allow it. So, but I think if ISKCON were to allow it to happen, people would accept it. People already, the people who are going to criticize ISKCON are going to criticize ISKCON because white men are sannyasis, white men are Brahmins, or Westerners, foreigners, people from America, people from Africa. They're going to, if people are already going to criticize that, right? So those people, you're never going to change their minds about that. The people who believe in caste by birth, you cannot change their mind about it at all, right? Other people, if they're willing to accept an American sannyasi, an American Brahmin, why aren't they willing to accept an American woman to be a pujari? Why not? Doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, it's a different time now than 1977 and before, but and we see India becoming more and more liberal in certain areas like this. Many people, some people are not becoming liberal. If you think that we're becoming more liberal, see, life is more or less like a river. It keeps moving on. So whether you like it or not, there's going to be change. The only question is whether you want the change to go more conservative or more progressive. So some people, they say, no, we don't like change. But I'm saying not all changes are wrong, right? There was no Facebook, there was no internet, there was no Zoom, there was no email even at the time of Prabhupada. Does it mean all these things are wrong? No. They're not wrong. We can use these things properly or we can use these things improperly. So things change. Things change. You can't stop change. The question is whether your change is, whether you're going to think about what your change is, and your change is going to be according to your philosophy, right? Or whether your change just happens at random. Right? Now we have devotees who now want to be vegans. They're all vegans because they don't want to be involved in the industry, the industry that makes cows suffer, even if it's not killing the cow. So people become vegans. At the time of Prabhupada, nobody was talking about that. There are so many issues. There are so many issues. Believe me, so many issues like that. So, okay, there's a saying in English. We say, "Do it when in Rome, you do as the Romans do." Okay, so I understand that Prabhupada wanted to do things in a way that wouldn't upset the Brijbasis in the beginning, like that, right? But no matter what you do, no matter what thing you do, you can always find somebody in India who is more orthodox than you. And no matter what you do, you can always find somebody who's more progressive than you. So the question is just for each individual and each particular group, what standards they want to set, right? Already by learning certain things like Upakarma from me, I'm trying to teach people about Upakarma, let's say, or Sandhya Vandana. Is that accepted in ISKCON? That's not accepted in ISKCON. Maybe in theory they accept it, but they don't follow it. They don't agree with it. Otherwise they would teach it, right? So everybody has to make up their own minds. I'm not telling anybody to believe anything or accept anything or do anything that goes against their own nature or their own faith. But believe me that it's not, having seen ISKCON since the 70s till now, there's been so much change, some of it good, some of it bad. And I don't believe that all change is bad. So if you want to change something, then just change it. If it's good, change it. If there's a spiritual rationale, if there's a logic and a pramana to change an idea, change your thinking. To change your thinking means also maybe to change a practice. Then I accept it. If I can't justify the changing of a practice, then why would I change it? If you, on the other hand, if you feel like if I change this practice, I will be ostracized and everybody will, I won't be able to be a part of the society so I want to stay a part of a particular society or sect, and therefore I don't want to rock the boat by suggesting a particular practice be introduced. Okay, I understand that too. That's fine. It's not a problem. I don't have a problem with that. Whether, it's a small thing. These are small things. If somebody wears a thread or doesn't wear a thread. Prabhupada, mostly when Prabhupada talked about the Brahmin thread, he talked about the people who were proud of wearing a 2-paisa thread as being a wrong mentality. So are we proud that we wear a thread on our body? I'm not proud that I wear a thread on my body. I'm not proud that I wear a thread on my body. What I want is much more than that. I want people to understand the philosophy of Vedanta, the philosophy of the Vedas, the principles of Krishna consciousness. So whether I wear a thread on my body or don't wear a thread on my body, it doesn't mean anything really to me like that. It's a symbol that somebody is following the Vedas. Doing Sandhya Vandana is a symbol of that people are exalting the Vedas. Why would we chant Vedic mantras if we didn't think the Vedas were important? So basically, as we say, ritualism is based on philosophy. So we have to think about what our philosophy is, what our doctrines are, and we style our ritualism according to that. Anyway, so this is really getting off the topic of Upanayana. But to get back to your question, can you wear another thread? Yeah, that's an idea. That's an idea. Wear another thread for your daughter. But then when she gets married, then her husband can wear a thread for her, or she can wear a Mangal Sutra. Or if she doesn't get married, you can keep wearing that extra thread for her for the rest of your life if you want. That's not a problem. I don't see a problem with that. If the idea is to wear an extra thread for a person who, although qualified to wear an extra thread, doesn't want to wear an extra thread because society may not accept her wearing a thread, sure, go ahead. Do it in whichever way. I'll give you another example, right? In Vedic civilization, we have examples in civilizations that were Hindu civilizations all over the world where the women went topless, right? It's not acceptable today in most societies. It's not acceptable today in most societies. It's not wrong. If the women want to go topless and if everybody accepts that, then it's not wrong because that's the way it was. But if we make it wrong, if somehow modern society says it's wrong, then maybe we should change it. If it becomes a source of problem, if it becomes problematic, right? Why did the Hindu kings in North India establish as a system in Rajasthan? They established the system of purda, where the women were locked away in certain rooms in the house, and they could never come out. They could never go out in the street by themselves because of fear of some Muslim person getting them and kidnapping them and perhaps assaulting them in some way. So Hindu society changed. Women in South India don't cover their head. If you cover your head with a sari in South India, people think you're a Muslim. In North India, it's considered, the Hindu ladies, when they go to the temple, they cover their head, and it's considered to be it's considered to be like a chaste sort of thing. When you go to in Europe, if you go into a cathedral, they ask the ladies to cover their head. They ask the men them to cover the shoulders. They don't let you come in wearing a mini skirt. You have to be dressed nicely. I have a system here in Hawaii. If I have a home program, if people come from the beach wearing bikinis and shorts and things like that, I tell them to cover up. I don't want people coming into my program, into my temple room, just straight from the beach. So I have some sarongs from Bali, and I give them to the sarongs. Please wear this, like that. When you go to Bali as a tourist, if you go into the Hindu temple, you can go into a Hindu temple in Bali, but you cannot go in wearing shorts, men or women. You cannot go in wearing shorts. If you wear shorts, they will tell you, there's a stall over there, rent a lungi, rent a thing and put it on, and then come in dressed properly. So there are standards these standards had to come into force. People used to wear clothes that were respectful according to certain, religious institutions. Now they don't. So that doesn't mean people can stop wearing, if you go to the beach, okay, wear your shorts. But if you go to the temple, you should be respectful. So there's many adjustments that are made in society. There was a whole war, almost a war that went on in a place called Travancore in South India. You can read about this historically, that the kings and queens of Travancore put a tax on the women who wanted to cover their breasts. The king and queen of that place, they said, no, we want the old system. Women go topless. If you want to cover your breasts, then you have to pay an extra tax for that. And there was a whole war. People died. People fought over these sort of things. So to think that things don't change, things change. Things change in society. All these things, the social things change. What is considered disrespectful today, right, is not what is considered disrespectful in ancient times. Like even 50, 100 years ago, the way people dressed was a lot more conservative. In some countries, it's become less conservative. Women used to wear short skirts in Iran in the 1930s or 40s or 50s or 60s. And then after the revolution, now they're covered completely head to foot, some of them. But at least they're all covering their hair. So things change. Things go more, the pendulum swings from more conservative to more progressive, like that. But we should try to cut through all of that. We should look and see what is philosophically correct. And based on our philosophy, our doctrine, what can we accept in society, right? And what you accept in every society may not be the same. I know that the Catholic Church in Sri Rangam in Trichy, like that. The Catholic Church in Sri Rangam, they have no pews. Everybody sits on the floor on rugs. They have no candles. They have all ghee lamps. It's because the people are South Indian and they want to have it that way. They're originally Hindus. They've become Christians and they want to keep some of their traditions. So I assume that there are Western traditions that people want to keep when they become Vaishnavas, right? In South India, in the Sri Ranganath Swami temple, Ranganatha is fed chapatis sometimes. So that sounds fine to you, right? A chapati is a whole wheat bread, you know, like that, unleavened bread. So that sounds fine to everybody, right? But in South India, chapatis are considered Muslim food because everything in South India is made with rice. And the people who ate chapatis came from the north, and they were the Muslims, and they were the invaders, like that. So the question is, why does Ranganath get a chapati? Why is he fed chapatis as part of his prasadam sometimes? And the answer is because he married a Muslim princess. There's a story of where Ranganatha married a Muslim princess. And if you go to see the Abhishekam of Lord Ranganatha, he wears this check lungi. Everybody who's gone to Mayapur and Navadvip, they see these gumshas that people wear. The famous red and green check gumshas, right? Everybody knows that, right? Yes, Devarishi's got one. He knows. So this gumsha, right? The check pattern on a man to wear a check pattern. In South India, if a man wears a check pattern, he's considered a Muslim. That pattern is only Muslims wear that type of lungi, right? So similarly, only Muslims eat chapatis traditionally in that area, right? So when Lord Ranganath takes bath, when he gets the Abhishek, he wears a Muslim cloth. He wears this check cloth because he married this Muslim princess. That was the idea. That's a legend. And similarly gets this chapati. So some of these rituals were not there before. You won't, if you look in Pancharatra Agama, you just go to Ranganath Swami temple and you say, the deity shouldn't wear a check cloth. It's not there in Pancharatra Agama. You shouldn't feed him chapatis. It's not there in Pancharatra Agama. Yeah, that's right. It's not there in Pancharatra Agama. It's a custom which came in later because of a certain thing. So we have customs that come in. So the custom in ISKCON is that women get Gayatri Mantra, that women attend the fire sacrifice, and they get the Gayatri Mantra, but they don't wear the sacred thread. That's the custom right now. The custom in the Gaudiya Math is they don't get the Gayatri Mantra at all. They don't even attend they don't even have to attend the fire sacrifice because this fire sacrifice is the Upanayana Samskar. Before the Gaudiya Math, the women were having Vaisnava Diksha. The women were having, the women and the Shudras, the people who were not born in Vija families, they were also having Vaisnava Diksha, but none of them were giving sacred threads. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a great Vaishnavacharya. He's never wore a sacred thread, wasn't born in a Brahmin family. So what we're talking about here itself is an imposition, this whole thing, Upakarma, Brahma Yajna, Gayatri Mantra, Sandhya Vandana, all these things, the Vedas, the Upanishads, none of this is according to I can find many rules in the Shmiti Shastra that says that you and I and any other foreigner, any other person is not qualified to study these things, do these things. There are many rules like that. So if I want to, I can make good arguments to say why we should not do any of these things. But I can also make good arguments the other way too. So it depends on where your faith is. If your faith is in the arguments of the Chandogya Upanishad and Satyakama Jabala and the ancient Vedic seers who didn't see any Bhagavad Gita, where we don't see any difference between a person spiritually, or if your faith is in the works of Manu and other medieval Smriti writers who say, if you hear the Vedic mantra, if you speak the Vedic mantra, but you're not born in a pure Dvija family and have the Upanayam and follow all the rules and everything like that, then you should be killed. So I think our faith, most people's faith, is somewhere in between. I'm not saying it has to be black and white, that either you believe this way or you believe that way completely. We have to adjust to society around us, obviously. But at the same time, we want to, Vaishnavas, people who are preachers, are always reformers. Ramanuja was a reformer. 1,000 years ago, when it was completely unacceptable for a Brahmin to touch a Shudra or an untouchable, a Shudra even, not an untouchable, a Shudra, to touch a Shudra after he took his bath. Ramanuja used to go, when he was old, he used to go down to the Kaveri River to take his bath. When he was going down towards the bath while he's still unclean, he would lean on a Brahmin. On his way back, after taking purified bath, he would lean on a Shudra devotee. Because he's so old, he needs help, physical help to come back. He would take the help, the hand of a Shudra, just to show people that that a Vaishnava is not a Shudra, is not Naham Vipro Nacha Narapati Napi Vaishona Sudro Naham Vani Nachagriya Patino Varashto Yatirva Kintu Prodyanakila Paramananda Punamritabdher Gopi Bhartahu Parakamalayor Dasa Dasanudasaha is by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and by King Kulashekar Alwa, he says Vritya Vitya Parinamita Vritya Vitya. He says to be the servant of the servant of the servant. That's what you are. That's what we are. We're the servant of the servant of the servant of God. We're the servant of God. That's what we are. We're not Brahmins. We're not Kshatriyas. We're not Vaishyas. We're not Sudras. We're not Brahmacharis. We're not Grihastas. We're not Vanaprasthas. We're not Sannyasis. We're not women. We're not men. We're not Africans. We're not Americans. We're not Australians. We're not fat. We're not thin. We're not, I can say, we're not gay. We're not straight. We're not all these things, right? Do I even want to go there and say and go into all these other things? We're not any of these things. According to the Gita, we are the pure spirit soul. Now, we have to live in society. And when we live in society, we're not living as souls. We're living as men and women. We have to have passports because we have different nationalities. We have to conform to certain dress codes when we go to different places. So I do understand living in society. I'm not saying that we should all just walk around like avadutas, or like Sukadev Goswami, run around naked because we don't see any difference, right? So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we have to always keep the basis of our acts is our philosophy. So if at all possible, we should act, let's say this, my idea is, if at all possible, we should act in a way which is not discriminatory in any way. If at all possible. If it's not possible in a certain situation, if there are certain rules, if there are certain common standards in a society that we have to follow just to keep the peace so people don't kill us or, commit further violence, right? People don't think we're crazy. Then if at all possible, we have to just follow whatever is acceptable, like that. But like I said, Prabhupada made it acceptable to give Gayatri mantra to women. Bhakti Siddhanta made it acceptable to give Gayatri mantra to non-Brahmins, to foreigners. He made it acceptable. Based on what? Based on his belief that everybody's equal. Based upon his belief. Based on what? Based upon the Shastras, based upon the Vedas. Right? So, it's a big subject. It's too big but like I said, as far as this particular question about this detail, I just look at it the same way I look at everything else, and I say, Is it possible for you to wear a thread for your daughter? Yeah, sure, quite possible. You know, you could wear a thread for your son too. As long as your son is under your protection, you could wear his thread too, right? Why just for your daughter, right? So if you take the position that you're the father and you're the head of the household and the wife and the daughter and the son are part of your household, then sure, why not? At the same time, I also don't see a problem if the son and the daughter also want to wear thread. If they're initiated Brahmins, if they're initiated Dvijas, they can also wear. If people want to object and they want to write to me and say, no, we object that why women can't wear the sacred thread, I'll show you there are people who are doing it. You know, there's not a problem. Why would there be a problem? It's a chadar. It's a paradigm of a chadar. You're saying a woman shouldn't wear a chadar? Why?
Krishna Guruji, I think in ISKCON, if you are giving Brahmin, like women, they will not be given Brahmin thread, but in different Sampradaya, they can maybe agree with that.
Yeah, like I said, there's recently there's some groups that do. So that's completely, I don't want to create waves. If you do whatever. If somebody does something, if I find it to be strange, I just ask, what's the rationale behind that? If they have a good, clear, philosophical, logical rationale behind doing something, I say, sure, why not? I'll give you an example. There was one ISKCON guru who he stopped accepting the prasadam from the lamp. You know, when you offer the lamp, you offer a lamp in Arti. And after you offer the lamp is taken around and people touch the flame and touch their head and they respect the prasadam of the lamp prasadam. So I know one ISKCON guru, he stopped doing that. And I asked him, why did you stop doing that? And he said, well, because the pujari is my disciple and my picture is on the altar and he's already offered it to my picture. So because he's already offered to my picture, I don't need to take it again. He's offered it already to me. And I said, oh, okay. So the same logic goes for your lunch also. Your disciple offers the food on the altar to your picture, so you don't need to eat it then later. Because you already ate your lunch on the altar through your picture, right? This is what I told him. So, maybe he can eat through his picture. Maybe he can't eat through his picture. Obviously he stopped doing that. He, again, after I said that to him, he started taking the prasadam of the lamp. And I said to him, look, I was in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasan. His deity was on the altar. He had a deity of Prabhupada on the altar. Prabhupada was physically sitting on the Vyasasan. The pujaris would offer the lamp to Prabhupada on the altar, the deity. They would turn around, they would offer it to Prabhupada on the Vyasasan. They would hand it to some other devotee who would then take it to Prabhupada on the Vyasasan, who already it was offered to his deity and to him. And then Prabhupada would take the prasadam of the lamp as well. Third time. So he could have said, you already offered it to my deity. You already offered it to me by turning around and directly. Why do I need to take this again? But just to show everybody, just to show everybody as an example, he did something. So for instance, I'll tell you another story. There was a great alwar in Sri Vaishnavism. There was an alwar, and he was not a Brahmin. He was not a Brahmin. He was not a Dvija. He was, in those days, the Brahmins were very strict. They would not chant Vedic mantras in front of people who were not Brahmins or not Dvijas. So there were a bunch of Brahmins. They were chanting and they were practicing their chanting. And they saw this fellow coming along, and they thought, oh, he is not allowed to hear or chant the Vedas. So we have to stop our practice. We have to stop our Vedic chanting until he leaves. So he came along and he respected them, and then he went further. And as he was leaving, they were going to start chanting again, but they forgot where they left off. They forgot the verse that they finished, the last verse, and what the next verse would be. So the next verse had a word in it in Sanskrit, which means something. And this devotee who doesn't know the Vedas or whatever, he picked up a piece of rice off the ground and he broke the rice. And this broken rice is the same. It means the same thing as a word in the next line of the Vedas, which they were about to chant, which they forgot. So it means that he knew everything. He knew all the Vedas. He was pretending that, he was acting a part in Varnashram. He was acting a part of a Sudra and not listening or chanting the Vedas. And so he just broke this piece of rice and indicated to them where they should start their recitation again, helping them out. And the Brahmins immediately realized that this person knows the purport of the whole Vedas. He's such a great person. He's not just the silly Sudra that we thought, we shouldn't chant in front of. That he actually knew where we should start again from. And he indicated, instead of saying it to us, which is also breaking a rule for them, right? That he shouldn't chant the Vedas. Instead of saying it, he simply broke a piece of rice to indicate to us that we can continue from this place. And then he left. And then the Brahmins continued like that. But they realized this was one of the alwas showing them that the devotees of the Lord are much greater than the ordinary Brahmins. So actually, as Vaishnavas, we have to say one thing. All of this Brahman stuff is below us. You are Vaishnavas. You are greater than this. All this stuff that the Brahmins do is not as important as the spiritual, as being a devotee of Lord Krishna, being a devotee of the Supreme Lord. It's not important. Why do we do all these things? We do all these things mainly, we have to, as we're trying to impress upon other people to follow the scriptures, to have faith in the scriptures. So that's why we for ourselves, the Brahmins, the Vaishnavas, they don't have to do all these things. So that's why you find some Vaishnavas who become Avadutas, they don't do any of these things at all. They just give up the whole thing. They give up all these these are all social duties, right? Sandhyavandanam, Upakarma, Brahma Yajna, these are all social conventions. A Brahmin is expected to do those things. It's stated in the scriptures that you have to do those things. But what do you really have to do? What do you really have to do? What is the most important thing in life? Is that you have to always remember Lord Krishna, never forget him. You have to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and then you'll attain perfection. So if your surrender includes doing all these things, that's fine. If your surrender, if you don't need any of these things and you simply surrender, you still reach the supreme destination, the supreme perfection. Because it's we don't, it's like asking, Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. Draupadi surrendered to Krishna and she was saved. Gajendra was not only Arjuna, who was a Kshatriya who was qualified, but Draupadi, a woman in her menstrual period, surrendered to Krishna, right? Not only that, Gajendra, an elephant, an animal surrendered to Krishna and attained perfection. So if an animal can surrender to Krishna and attain perfection, I never saw Gajendra doing Sandhyavandana or doing Upakarma, right? Have you ever seen an elephant with a Brahman thread? No. So these things are all below the person who is completely surrendered to God. It's not necessary for all these things. But if we place ourselves in that position in society where we're supposed to be Brahmins and we're supposed to do these Vedic ceremonies for people in order to help them purify their lives, which they do, right? then we should try to follow, as far as possible, we should try to follow the principles of Shastra and the rules of Shastra. There are some rules, of Shastra, of certain Shastras, right, which you can never follow. You'll never be able to follow. Nobody, I dare anybody to come and say to me that they can follow every rule in Shastra. I can find a rule that you're not following. The most orthodox person can come to me. I will find a rule that you can't follow. I can find a rule. There are many, many little rules. There are so many little rules, right? If you chant Gayatri sitting down in the morning, you lost your caste, according to Manu. You're not a Brahmin anymore. If you do it standing up at the evening, you lost your caste. You're not a Brahmin anymore. Okay? These are little rules, but they're there. If you want the Sanskrit, I give you all the Sanskrit of all the little rules. Believe me, I know everything about little rules. And by studying so many little rules, what I understood was that the little rules are not as important as the main principles. So we always have to understand what is a main principle and what is a changeable rule. So wearing a thread, not wearing a thread, doing this or doing that ritual, these are all minor rules. And the ultimate is to understand, surrender to God, and how to attain perfection in life. Always to remember Krishna. That's the ultimate thing, and that we should first of all get that principle correct, and then if we can do some of these other things, then we can do these other things too. Okay, so I think we went way too long, and we got way off the subject of Upakarma. Since we're still here, I'm going to go through the minimal Upakarma very quickly. Let's see. Everybody can see minimal Yajurveda Upakarma, and this is one that I wrote in 2018, but can also be there after. Yeah, question?
I mean,
yeah.
Can you make it bigger? It's a little difficult to see it.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can do. How's that? Good? All right. Okay. So this is minimal Krishna Yajurveda Upakarma. I did a couple of years ago. After bath and Pradasanya Vandanam, performing 2 achamas, sit down on asana facing east, or if you're in a temple, face the deities. Place 2 kusha grasses under the middle of one's crossed legs. Now this is in detail, right? So the 2 kusha grass blades that go under your crossed legs, they're in case you don't have a kusha grass asana. If you have a kusha grass asana, you don't have to do this. But if you're just sitting down normally on a regular asana, put 2 kusha grass blades under your legs. That's considered to be a kusha grass asana. Wear a pavitra ring. It means a ring of two blades of kusha grass. You make a pavitra ring by making a Brahma Granthi knot and putting it on the ring finger of your right hand. You can put it on the ring finger of both hands if you like, but it has to be on the right hand finger. When you do achaman or touch your mouth or nose, whatever, you have to take it off and put it on your right ear so it doesn't get contaminated, and then put it back on again. The pavitra is with 2 blades of kusha grass for auspicious ceremonies. When you're performing shraddhas and Upakarma ceremonies, it's made of 3. Then fold 2 extra kusha grasses, just 2 regular pieces of kusha grass, short ones, around the right finger, the right ring finger, and facing outwards. So they're around the finger and their points are pointing out like this, and those are discarded after the first pranayama. Okay, recite the pranam with pranam mudra. So hands together. Shuklam Bharadram Vishnum Shachivanam Chukubhadam Prasannavanam Dhyayet Sarvavigno Pashantage Yasya Vyuradavakradyaha Parisadhya Parasadam Vignam Nignanti Saradam Vishwaksenam Tamashraye. Do 3 pranayamas. That's Vedic pranayamas, right? Discard the 2 extra kusha grasses that you used because you wore the kusha grass ring while you're doing pranayamas. Those 2 became contaminated, and throw those away. And you can throw them in a Visarjana Patra, or you can just throw them to the north. If you're facing east, throw them to the north. Okay, then make a Sankalpa Mudra, which means hold your hands together crossed like this on your right thigh. and say Kamo Kashit Manyurakashit Iti Mantra Japam Kadishye. Right? Pour a spoonful of water through your open right palm onto the ground or onto a plate, meant to hold that through the Deva Tirtha, right? Into the Visarjani Patra, and this is called the Sankalpa. And you do this ritual thing of touching water each time you make a vow. When you make a vow, when you touch water, it's a promise, and you shouldn't break the promise if you touch the vow. Then you recite the Kamo Karshit Manyurakashit mantra, either Kamo Karshit Manyurakashit Namo Namaha or Kamo Karshit Manyurakashit by itself, right? People also say Kamo Karshin Manyurakashit, right? Because, or Manyurakashin Namo Namaha. That's if you do it with the Sandhi. The Sandhi is optional, that the T's in each case change to the letter next coming after them, the N, M or N. Okay, so Kamo Kashit Manyurakashit Namo Namaha, or Kamo Kashit Manyurakashit, either 108 or 1008 times. Then perform Madhyanika Sandhya Vandanam. We already did Prada Sandhya Vandanam up here. Should have been mentioned that we did Prada Sandhya Vandanam. Yes, after bath and Prada Sandhya Vandanam. So down here, after the Kamo Kashit Japa, then we should perform Madhyanika Sandhya Vandanam, then perform two Achamanas, sit down facing on an asana facing east, or the deities in the temple. Again, 2 kushagrass blades under your feet. Again, 2 kushagrass pieces around the ring finger, even though you're wearing the kushagrass pavitra on the. Again, say Shuklam Bharadhanam Vishrum Shashivanam Shidobhajam Prasanavaranam Jait Sarvigno Prashantaye Jasad Viradavakratyaha Parisadya Parasadam Dignam Niganti Saradam Vishwaksenam Tamashraye with Pranam Mudra. Again, do 3 pranayams, discard the 2 extra kushas again after you finish doing the pranayam. Right, then the Sankalpa for this one is doing the Sankalpa Mudra Adyopakarma Tadangam Navakanda Rishi Tarpanam Kurishe Tadangam Yagyopavita Dharanam Kurishe Tarangam Punyatirtha Snanamaham Kurishe. Okay, so Adya Upakarmana. So we're going to do the Upakarma. That's what it says, right? And as part of the Upakarma, we're going to do these different parts. Taranga means we're going to do this part. Navakanda Rishi Tarpanam is the first thing we're going to do. Then we're going to do Yagyopavita Dharanam. Then we're going to do Punyashnanam. Actually, we might be doing this in reverse. When you say these things, the last thing that you finish with is the thing that you start to do first. So then, with Pranam Mudra, you think of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as purifying yourself, and say, Apavitra Bhavitro Vasavavashtam Gatopi Ba Yasmanet Kundari Kaksham Sabayabhyantara Suchihi. Sprinkle some water on yourself. This is in case you can't go somewhere and take a bath by dipping yourself completely into the holy water. This is instead of the Punya Tirtha Shnanam, right? So we just do it. So I need to fix this spelling mistake. Okay. Perform Achamana and Pranayam again. Soak a new Yagyopavita in the water, undo it, and wrap it around your knees. So that you get a bundle of 2 Yagyopavitas. Soak it in water, right? And then you can also add some kumkum or turmeric, maybe to the knots if you want. If you really want, you don't have to. You can undo it. Once you undo it and get it untangled, you're sitting down, you place it around your knees in front of you so that you can easily take one set off at a time and put it on. Removing the Yagyopavita from the knees with the knot, place the knot in the center of the right palm with your palm facing upwards and the knot facing to the right. Raising the right hand and holding the bottom of the Yagyopavita with the left hand palm down. And some people have the palm on top of the Panchapatra. Recite Yagyopavidam Paramam Bhavitam Prajapatehe Yat Sahajam Purasta'ate Ayushamagram Parimuncha Subram Yagyopavidam Paramastutejaha, and put it on. Wear the Yagyopavita. If you're a Grihasta, then repeat the procedure with the second Yagyopavita as follows. Do Achaman Pranayam, removing the second Yagyopavita from your knees. Hold its knot in the center of the right hand palm upwards, and chant the mantra again, and wear do the same thing and wear the second Yajnapavitam. Okay? Then recite Upavitam Vina Tantum Jirnam Kasmala Dushitam Vishrajami Puna Jale Brahma Varcho Dirgaya Mastame. Okay? And take the old Yajnapavita off. It's usually taken off down, not touching the feet, but over the knees and off without touching the feet. Perform Achamana twice, Pranayam 3 times. Then standing, yeah.
Could I ask a quick, just in that mantra, if you could just scroll up a little bit again, that last mantra?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a big deal, but just somewhere else where you showed me the mantra,
Yep.
and after Vishrajami, it said Hare Brahma.
Yeah, Vishrajami, Jale Brahma, Vishrajami, Hare Brahma, Vishrajami, Puna Brahma. There's some slight differences. This is a not a Vedic mantra, so it can change. It's a classical mantra. The word here, Jale, indicates Vishrajami means I get rid of, I discard, right? I discard you, right? Jale means in water. I discard you in water, right? Okay, so it just says you should discard the thread in water. Okay.
Is it okay also to bury it?
Normally discarded in water.
Okay, yeah. We
So
just don't have a body of water.
all these people, so many people are saying to me, cut it, burn it, bury it. It's normally discarded in water. It's prasadam. Okay? So whatever you do with your prasadam, do that with it. So do you usually bury your prasadam?
I do, just because I don't have a good body of water where I could.
Okay. So if that's what you do with your prasadam, then that's what you do with it. It's prasadam. Right? It's a remnant of prasadam. It's a spiritual thing which is left over, which can't be used anymore. It is prasadam. So not like the deities of Jagannath, when their old bodies are renewed, they take them and they put them in a well. So it goes in water. So sometimes prasadam goes into water, sometimes it doesn't go into water. So prasadam, get rid of it like you would get rid of any other, sacred thing, holy thing. Okay. So,
okay, Guruji, I wanted to ask, normally over the years, I have been doing Patha Sandhya and Madhyanikam Sandhya together before doing I've been doing it like that. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But on Upakarma Day, you should try to follow the Upakarma system. Normally, you have to do a few things here, right? So this is the way you should do it on Upakarma Day. Normally, if you have to do 2 Sandhya Vandanams before you go to work, to an office or something like that, that's on a normal day. But on Upakarma Day, you have the day off, hopefully, or you have some time to do the Upakarma ceremonies. So you can do them in this order. Right? If you tell me that you can't do them in this order, then we'll talk about it. But mostly you should do it in this order. Yeah?
Yeah, I'll follow this because I was doing it. I do my Sandhya twice in the morning, like that. So I was continuing. I used to continue like that also.
Yeah, good.
So I'll follow.
Good. Standing facing north, wear the Yajnapavitta in niviti like a garland around your neck, right? Holding the Panchapatra in between the thumb and the forefinger, either hand, right? Hold the Yajnapavitta in between the thumb and 4 fingers of the hand together, palm up, right? Taking a small amount of raw rice and black sesame in the left hand, place it in the cup palm. With the left hand, place it in the cup palms, right? Then recite Prajapatim Kandarishim Tarpayami, Prajapatim Kandarishim Tarpayami, Prajapatim Kandarishim Tarpayami 3 times, right? Each time you tip the Panchapatra into the middle of the hands, right? And let the water go out the Rishi Tirtha. That means if you've got cupped hands, you just open the middle and the water goes out the middle, right? Into a plate or on the floor. If you're outside, it can be, on the grass or whatever. But otherwise, you have a plate with high sides and let the water drop out. Okay. Yeah, you should have like a Visarjana, which is like a plate where you can drop the water. Okay. Visarjana just means a throw out pot. Okay. Repeat this mantra and actions twice more. Yeah, okay. Do the same thing with the following mantras, which are all to be chanted 3 times. So you do Soma Kandarisham Tarpayami, Soma Kandarisham Tarpayami, Soma Kandarisham Tarpayami, Agnim Kandarisham Stapyami, Agnim Kandarisham Stapyami, Agnim Kandarisham Stapyami, Vishwan Devan Kandarisham Stapyami, Vishwan Devan Kandarisham Stapyami, Vishwan Devan Kandarisham Stapyami, Samitir Devata Upanishada Stapyami, Samitir Devata Upanishada Stapyami, Samitir Devata Upanishada Stapyami, Yagikir Devata Upanishada Stapyami, Yagikir Devata Upanishada Stapyami, Yagikir Devatas Upanishadas Tarpayami, Varunir Devatas Devata Upanishadas Tarpayami, Varunir Devata Upanishadas Tarpayami, Varunir Devata Upanishadas Tarpayami. Right? These next tapanas are for Brahma, right? So you have to, instead of letting the water out from the middle of the cup palms. Now, if you're doing this tarpanas, you can also do it in a more easy way. Is you can do it with a spoon of the Panchapatra, spooning water onto your right hand only. If you're offering on your right hand only, then you let it out the side of the hand for the rishis, and you let it out the back of the hand for Brahma, and then between the thumb and the forefinger for the ancestors, the Pitris, and for the Devatas, for the Devatirtha, right? So you can do it one-handed or you can do it two-handed. So here I've written it for 2 hands, but you can do it for 1 hand also. If you do it with 2 hands, then you're holding between the thumb and the ring finger, you're holding the Panchapatra or a cup of water and tipping a little bit of water each time. If you're doing it with 1 hand, right, you take the spoon of the Panchapatra and you spoon on 1 spoonful at a time, and you put on the rice and the sesame. Again, the next 3 tapanas are for Brahma. For Brahma, so if you're doing it with both hands, you tip it up like this so it comes out the back here. Or if it's one-handed, you tip it up like this and it comes off the back, right? Brahmanam Swayambhuvam Tarpayami, Brahmanam Swayambhuvam Tarpayami, Brahmanam Swayambhuvam Tarpayami, right? Then Sarasaspatim Tarpayami, Sarasaspatim Tarpayami, Sarasaspatim Tarpayami. If not performed standing, then offer tarpanas using a spoon to offer the water into the palm of the right hand only. This is what I said. Okay, wear the Yagyapavita after you finish. Wear the Yagyapavita again in the Upavita way, which means over the right shoulder and under the left. This is also called, sometimes in Upakarmas, they call it Savya and Apasavya. Right? So this is Savya and the regular way, and Apasavya means the other way. So we normally call it, though, the normal way to wear a Brahman thread over the left shoulder under the right arm is called Upaviti. Right? The other way, opposite way, is called Prachinaviti for the ancestors, right? So this Upaviti for the gods, for the devatas, for the ancestors, Prachinaviti on the other shoulder, on the right shoulder on the left arm, and round the neck like a garland is called Niviti. Some people might call it Malya also, but Niviti. Niviti. Wear Yagyapavita the normal way, Upaviti way. Then do Achamana twice. Recite whatever Vedic mantras that one knows, starting with the Veda Arambha mantras, which are the 4 beginnings mantras of each Veda, starting with the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. Agnimi, Ila, Purohitam, Yagyasya Deva, Mritvidam, etc. Right? Or you can do the full Brahma Yagya if you know it. At least, if you don't know it, you can chant at least Gayatri and the first 4 mantras of the Vedas. Or you can chant Purusha Sukta if that's all you know, right? Some people, they want to be more, they chant a whole chapter or a whole section of the Veda which they belong to. So if you know a whole Kanda or Anuvaka of the Krishna Yajurveda, you can chant that too. Now, that's all for that day. Now, of course, if you're going to do Sandhya Vandan in the evening as well, but I haven't mentioned that here. Gayatri Japa the next day after taking bath, do Pradasanya Vandana, 2 Achamanas, sit down and do the same thing as you did the day before in terms of wearing the Kushagrass ring, chanting the mantras with Pranam Mudra, doing 3 pranayams, putting 2 extra Kushagrasses around the ring finger when you do the pranayam, and then throwing it in the Visarjana. And you make the Sankalpa. Gayatri Mantra Japam Karisye. Then you should chant Gayatri Japa 108 or 1008 times, perform Achaman twice to finish off the ceremony. And that is it. Very simple. That is simple, minimal Upakarma. And so what we should do is, if you want to do something more than that, right, we should have another session, and we should go over in detail the different steps from the full outline, and we should decide what's doable and what's not doable. Yeah? And we have 2 weeks to do that and learn how to do that. Yep, doable? Okay, so is there any other questions or any other comments that anybody wants to make about Upakarma specifically, or anything else?
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
Swami,
Namaskaram. Swamiji, thank you so much for enlightenment of this Upakarma, particularly the knowledge you have is really helpful for me. And I find it will be nice if you could on YouTube, so it will be accessible for those people who didn't attend, or it's really, really helpful. I have a question for you. Question, and the which of age the boy can take first Upakarma? I missed the Upanayam.
at which age?
Yes,
7.
age of 7. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And about
the rule is in the Shastras, it says Garbhastama. Garbhastama means the eighth year after conception. In the 8th year, when the 8th year is running. When people,
right.
Because in India, our first birthday is when we're born. So 1 year after the birth of a child is his 2nd birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So 7 years on the boy's 7th birthday, right? On his when we say in the West it's his 7th birthday, he's been living for 7 years and 9 months, right?
Yes.
So that at that time.
All right. Thank you.
7th year.
Thank you very much.
8th year running. 8th year running. You'll understand that. In India, they say 8th year running.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
But it's different for Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Okay, that's a rule for Brahmins. There are other rules. If you look in Manusmriti, it says very clearly what time. And there's also a maximum. There's a maximum age after which the Upanayam shouldn't be done. That's also according to Manu.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will post to the WhatsApp group. I will post this minimal Upakarma document again. If people want to do more than the minimal, I know that some people want to do more, and we'll set up a time when we can learn some more things that we can do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Namaskaram.
So do we have any other questions, or we can end here?
Guruji, I wanted to ask a chanting of pranayam. Is it good to recite it louder, or it should be inward?
I mean, strictly speaking, there's 2 ways of doing pranayama. There's a lot of different ways, but I'm gonna divide pranayama into 2 ways of doing it. One way is the emphasis on the breathing, and the other way is just as a part of the ritual. When we're just doing pranayama and it's just ritualistic, it's just part of ritual. We just hold the nose and we just say the mantra, right? So I can do pranayama. I can just say Om Bho Om Bhava Om Sava Mam Janam Tabo Om Satyam Tatore Inyam Bargode Vasidimi Hidioyana Pajoria Ante Oma Pojo Tira Samritam Brahma Bhava Suvarom. Yeah, I can do it like that. I didn't do any breathing at all. Or if you want to do pranayama correctly, you should breathe out then breathe in, hold, say the mantra in the mind. Breathe out, touch the ear. Yeah? But then nobody knows what mantra you chanted. So normally when you go to a puja, you see the priest, he says it out loud.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually we're supposed to say it in the mind.
Okay. I tried reciting it louder, and when I do that, it's very difficult for me to be able to do the breathing.
Naturally.
Yes. So
nowadays. Okay. Let me ask you this, right? There are three or four steps in pranayama, right? There's purvaka, kumbhaka, rechaka. Purvaka means breathing in. Kumbhaka means holding the breath, and rechaka, right? So you have to chant a mantra during kumbhaka. Kumbhaka is what? Holding the breath. So you do this for me right now. Hold your breath, and then you chant a mantra for me. Let me hear.
I should do it.
Can you do it? Can you hold your breath and chant a mantra too at the same time?
Would be nice if you put video on. Everybody can see. I like to see.
Yeah, I like to see it. I like to see it. It's not possible. It's not possible because we know when we speak mantras, air is coming out of our mouth when we're speaking the mantras. That means we're not holding the air. So it's impossible to do pranayam properly when you're speaking the mantras. But why do we see so many priests do it like that? They're chanting something and holding their nose. It's only, they're just going through a ritual motion, like that. So some people do it. I'm not saying maybe I'll chant the mantra out loud also. It sounds nice, like that. But if you really want to do pranayam, you have to hold the breath. You have to control the breath. Chanting the mantra is not controlling the breath. Yeah. So you can do it either way. I'm not saying you shouldn't chant the mantra. And I'm also not saying you shouldn't just do the proper pranayam and meditate on the mantra. It's up to you which way you want to do it. Both, but we see in ritual practice of priests that they do it in different ways. It's not the most, like I said, it's not the most important part. Is controlling the breath is not the most important part. It's saying the mantra and just, doing the ritual like that. But if you feel that you actually want to control the breath, then you can't chant the mantra out loud. You have to do it in your mind. It's not possible.
Could I ask a few questions?
Sure.
Do you have any good videos of Upakarma that you might?
I do. I do have videos of Upakarma, and we'll do another session very soon, right? And I will play videos of different Upakarmas.
Okay.
Right. Okay. But see, I wanted in this session, I just wanted to have a general overview, and so people could understand what it's about.
Okay.
Otherwise, if I start showing videos, it's like, what is this about? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Could I make a quick request? I have to work on Monday and Wednesday, right at the same time that you have the session. Could you not do the Upakarma session on Monday or Wednesday? Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Mondays and Fridays, I have another commitment also. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll right now we try. Now it's Sunday. We'll try to do on Tuesday. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Because the reason why I'm doing more of these is because we only have 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to learn anything and do it this year, see, this is why I always ask people, don't email me or don't call me the day before and say,
Yeah.
you know, or somebody calls me up and says, you know, it's Balaram's Jayanti tomorrow. Can you teach me Upakarma tonight?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, we have this anniversary. It's happening tomorrow, and we've got to do it. Sorry, ask me next year. You know, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Sure,
So
I'll teach for next year.
even actually with 2 weeks left, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, you should be able to do many things in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
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 It's, you know, just a matter of, it's a matter of me writing it out also. See, I have to also do it. So, because like I have all the information, but I have to put it in a format so that people can do it step by step. You know, for me, it's just a matter of, you know, opening up a book, and it's all there in Devanagari, and maybe some of the mantras are not fully there, and some of the steps are not completely there, and I can understand that. But if I want to teach it to somebody, it has to be taught in a step-by-step manner, and so that means I have to write it out like that. You know, like when I write things out in cookbook form, where it's very easy to understand. Some of these purohits and things, when they go to different ceremonies, even they haven't performed that particular ceremony before, but they all know all the mantras, they know all the steps, they know all the preliminaries, they know everything. So if somebody says, I mean, I want assistance like this when I go and do a ceremony. I'd like to have an assistant who knows how to do, you know, if I set up a yagshala with 4 fires in it, and I could just say to the people at the different fires, well, you do Nitya Homa in your fire. If they know how to do it, they can do it, you know. But if I have people who don't even know how to do the Nitya Homa, then I have to sit with the microphone and say, okay, now you do this ablation, you do that ablation, and just repeat after me, sort of thing. So it all depends upon us. It's baby steps. In other words, you learn little things first, and then you learn more. Obviously, I know very little also compared to some great purohits, you know, and there are many things that I don't know that I have to learn by baby steps also. So that's, you know, that's the way we learn, is we have to learn to crawl first before we can walk and before we can run.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. This is just because I'm thinking of doing this ceremony, this Upakarma for my temple. So what if the person is in, you know, a situation where they're not really a grihasta? I mean, they're in the wanting to be grihasta, but they don't have a wife. Should they still wear 6 strands, or should they wear 3?
They should wear 3.
They should wear 3. Okay, because they're not married. Yeah.
Yeah, you wear a wedding ring if you're a bachelor.
Oh, good.
I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe there's some reason to do that, but
Yeah.
You know, normally you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then
Yeah.
more
So
question.
to be clear, the stage is that somebody was a brahmachari. After they're a brahmachari, they leave the gurukul. They graduate from the gurukul, and then they take a bath, and they call a shnataka. A shnataka means a bachelor before he gets married, but after he left the gurukul. It's called a shnataka.
Okay, sounds good. And then the other question was, you mentioned this the Sattvika Tyaga. You
Right.
said that
Sattvika Tyaga mantra is normally only chanted by Vadigalai Sri Vaishnavas.
Oh, only by Vadigalai. But
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful concept, though. Is it okay for anyone else to do?
Why not?
Also?
If you want to know the Sattvika Tyaga mantras for all these things, you can.
Yeah.
It's just one mantra, and you just plug in whatever you're doing. You plug in the karma. It's like a pre-made sankalpa, and you just put in whatever you're going to do. You put it in there, and you say it before and afterwards.
Okay.
The other thing that Tengalai Sri Vaishnavas do is they say this Kayena Vachamana Sendriyeva Buddhyapmanava Prakritesvava Purobi Yad Yad Shakalam Parasmai Sriman Narayana Iti Samarpayami, or just Narayana Iti Samarpayami. I offer everything to Sriman Narayana. They say that. That's enough for them. But the Sattvika Tyaga mantra is specifically mentioned in Ramanuja's Nitya Grantha, which is the book that he wrote on daily ritualism. And it's specifically used by Vadagalai Sri Vaishnavas more than Tengalais. You know, the mentality is the important thing. It helps us to remember the mentality like that. I don't think, to me, it's not a Vadagalai Tengalai thing. It's not a difference. It's an attitude that people have. People have the attitude that they perform anything, any ritual that they do, they perform. They're not performing it themselves. They're performing it with the mentality that God is performing this ritual through me, and using me as His tool to do His own ritual. He's doing the ritual for His own sake, Himself through me, and I have I get no benefit out of it myself personally. It's Him doing His Leela through me, of doing this. So it's a nice mentality. We should always think of it, at least even if we don't say the mantra out loud, which is a technical thing. You know, it's a formal thing. Even if we don't formally do it, it's just like when, you know, or fast on Ekadasi, right? People might fast on Ekadasi. Not everybody who fasts on Ekadasi goes before the deity and says, tomorrow is Ekadasi, I am going to fast. Please help me to fast on Ekadasi. By your grace, I can fast on Ekadasi. But some people do. They go before the deity and they take a vow and say, tomorrow I will not take food, and the next day I will break my fast. So some people do it formally and some people do it informally. So the same thing with Sattvika Tyaga. Some people do it formally, and some people do it informally. But we should all think about that. With every ritual we perform, we should always think that God is doing this ritual through us for His own purpose, and we do not get any benefit from it. We do not want any benefit from it. That is the Sri Vaishnava system of property. Of course, I'm not saying that anybody who does a ritual shouldn't think that they should get some benefit for it. Obviously, we're doing rituals for people, and in the ritual we're saying in the Sankalpa, Ayu Arogya Aishwarya Abhividyatam. I want to do this because I want to get more wealth. I want to get, I want to get good health. I want all my riches to be ever increasing. So you're saying that in a Sankalpa. So normally Sri Vaishnavas are not, it's sort of like counteracting all of that if you say that in the Sankalpa, Yeah. Why would you say that in the Sankalpa and then you say you don't want it?
Yeah.
So some people, like for instance, Vishnu Sahasranam, when we chant 1,000 names of Vishnu at the end, there's a whole lot of slokas that say, if you chant this, you get good health, and Brahmins will learn the Vedas, and Kshatriyas will rule the kingdoms, and everybody will, learn everything, and everybody will get all these benefits from doing it, right? This is what we call a pala shruti. Pala means the fruit, and shruti means saying the fruit. So there are many, even Guru Vastika, which people chant every day, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. I offer my respects to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, right? And then at the end, the 9th verse said, Srimad Guru Asata, whoever chants this in the Brahma Muhurta will get service to the Guru in Vrindavan, He'll get this benefit, right? So some people may think, wow, I really want that benefit. That's why I'm going to go to Mangalarti and I'm going to sing this every day because I really want that benefit. But then another person may say, whatever the Guru wants me to do, wherever he wants me to serve, I'll do that. No matter whether I chant it or not. So when I'm chanting this, I'm hoping to go serve eternally the lotus feet of my Guru in Vrindavan. But if that doesn't happen, if he tells me to serve somewhere else or do something else, I'll accept that. So there are always these enticements in the scripture. They say, chant this mantra, follow this ritual, observe this fast, do this thing, and you will get this, right? If you don't do it, whoa, you will get that. You will get the bad result. You will go to hell forever and all these sort of things. So there's always these inducements in the scripture to do something and to not do the opposite, not to do the bad thing and to do the good thing. So these are meant to encourage people to do the thing and not to do not do the thing. So okay, so these are called yamas and niyamas. Rules. Yamas are do's and niyamas are don'ts. Right? So do this, don't do that. Okay, so they're always praised, these things, in things called mahatmyams. So there are these mahatmyams, which are slokas in the scripture to increase people's desire to fast on Ekadasi, to chant, mantras and to do rituals and things like that. Because why? Because it's good for them to do it. Okay, and similarly, don't eat on Ekadasi, don't do this, because we want to stop people from doing that. So these are inducements, but actually everything is, if you're totally surrendered to God, your mentality should be that whatever it is, he's doing it through me, and we don't care one way or the other what the result is. Yeah.
So you mentioned though that
For ourselves.
there's no point though to, for doing Upakarma if you're not doing Sandhya Vandanam. So my whole point of doing this was I wanted, everyone to, recommit and everyone to, get something out of, kind of renewing your vows, for at the temple and everything.
Right.
But
Right.
I know
Okay.
not.
So I'm going to modify my statement. My statement here, because I said, okay, there's no real purpose to doing Upakarma if you're not doing Sandhya Vandana. There is a purpose if somebody's not doing Sandhya Vandana, to getting them and showing them the example of doing Upakarma, because in Upakarma you have to do Gayatri Japa, you have to do so many things, right? So maybe you will enthuse them by doing the Upakarma and getting them to do Upakarma. Maybe you'll get them interested in doing Gayatri Japa and every day. Maybe people who didn't do Gayatri Japa for years will think, oh, yeah, I have that mantra and I could chant that mantra every day, actually. And I could probably get a lot of benefit by doing that. Well, wow, I really enjoyed doing this Upakarma. Maybe I should just put a little effort and spend 5 to 10 minutes and do Gayatri mantra every day. Right? So, yeah, if as an example to other people who are not doing Sandhya Vandana, yeah, it's a good thing. What I'm saying is there's a tendency to minimize everything. Okay? So you say to people, it's Chatumasya. You have to do this in the first month, that in the second month, that in the third month, that in the fourth month. The whole 4 months you have to do this, and you have to be austere like that. And people go, wow, 4 months, that's a long time. And somebody else comes along and says, oh, you know what? Kartik is the greatest month, and it's the last month of Chatumasya. And even if you couldn't do it for the other 3 months, if you just do it in Kartik, that's going to cover you for the rest of the other 3 months, like that. Oh, that's good. That's a minimization. Okay, then somebody else comes on and says, you know what? Out of Kartik, Bhishma Pancha, the last 5 days. If you just do the last 5 days, right? Then you're gonna, that's gonna cover you for the whole of Kartik, which is gonna cover you for the whole of Chatumasya, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'll just do the last 5 days like that.
Just do your July Ekadashi.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So then the next guy comes along and says, you know what? Bhima couldn't do any of these things like that. So he got a special day by Krishna. Same thing with Sahasranama. So people say, oh, 1,000 names. How long does that take, 1,000 names? Like that, And then say, well, if you chant Rama, you chant the word Rama, right? That's equal to the 1,000 names. Wow, that's great. So all I have to do is chant Rama, So, but at the same time, if I have a Vishnu Sahasranama group getting together and people want to get together and chant Vishnu Sahasranama, if somebody turns up to the group and says, okay, you guys chant for half an hour, and I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to say Rama. Okay, the idea, it's like, yes, you get the same benefit, but guess what? in the Vishnu Sahasranam is also the name Rama. So we shouldn't be trying to equate things mathematically. You know, oh, if I do this 1 day fast, it's as good as fasting for 50, you know, 4 months, you know?
Yeah. It
Okay.
misses the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, if you want to just do the 1 day fast, why even do the 1 day fast? The next guy will come along and say, oh, all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna. It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Why should I do the Nirjala Kodasi? I'll just chant Hare Krishna. Well, why do you have to chant Hare Krishna? Just chant Krishna. Right? I would say to people, okay, so people say to me, you should chant Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Why so difficult? Why not just chant Krishna? Why, you're saying Krishna's name is greater than any other name, Rama's name is greater than any other name. Well, why all these Haris? Why waste your time chanting Hari Hari? Just chant Krishna, 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 or Rama, Rama, Rama. Right? Everything is Omkara, in Omkara, right? It's contained in Omkara. Just chant Om, right? Then you can do 16 rounds of Om a lot quicker than you can do 16 rounds of Hare Krishna, right? Prabhupada says, I can make arguments for anything. Prabhu, I can make arguments for and against anything using Shastra, right? Depends on what you have faith in and what you want to do. So you can find in Prabhupada's books where he says that Omkara, the meaning of Omkara and Hare Krishna are the same, right? Well, if Omkara and Hare Krishna are the same, then why can't I just chant Omkara? You know how long it takes to do a round of Omkara? Right? Oh, it's equal. It's equal to chanting Hare Krishna. But if you go to your guru and you say, oh, Guruji, I'm doing 192 rounds every day. He's going, really? You're doing 192 rounds every day? Yeah, Omkara. I'm doing Omkara. I do it in about 3 hours. Omkara. So he's going to say, it's not about numbers. It isn't about numbers. Just like the Vishnu Sahasranam, it's not about numbers. It's not about there being 1,000 names or one name. One name is as good as 1,000 names. Any one of those names is as good as 1,000 names, right? The whole idea of Vishnu, what is the advantage of Vishnu Sahasranama over chanting a mantra like Om, 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 right? If you chant Om, 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 one of the things that's going to happen is your mind is going to wander. Unless you're completely, got siddha if you've got perfection of that mantra, your mind is probably going to wander, right? Om, 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 Om. All of a sudden you're thinking about something else. When you chant Vishnu Sahasranam, a different word has to come. Every time you open your mouth, a whole lot of different names have to come out. They're not the same. They're all different, right? They're all different. If you know them off by heart, then also you think of different meanings of these names, right? If I chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, then I know Hare Rama is coming. Then I know Hare Krishna is coming again, like that. Maybe it's possible for your mind to wander. I think it's possible because I know it's possible. Because it's possible. It's also possible to be totally fixed on it and for your mind not to wander. I'm not saying it's not possible to chant Hare Krishna and have a fixed mind. You can. You can chant Omkar and have a fixed mind also. But it's easier to chant. It's easier to chant things which are not going to be the same and not lose focus. If you're going to chant a lot, if it changes, you don't lose focus. That's one advantage of Vishnu Sahasranam. So you're chanting 1,000 different names, you have to know it like that. But there are people who chant Vishnu Sahasranam in their sleep, who know it off by heart back to front. So for those people, they have to think even they have to try even deeper for them not to lose concentration. So there are different ways to keep concentration. Concentration is important. And we should try to concentrate on the deity. Just like maybe a good here might be a good idea. There are so many different mantras that we can use as dhyana mantras for the deity that we're worshiping. right? So somebody would say to me, oh, you do Ganesh Puja or whatever. Here's a mantra to do Ganesh Puja with, to dhyana of Ganesha. Here's another mantra which you could use as a meditation on Ganesha. Here's a third mantra, right? Or with Krishna, or with Rama, or with Narasimha, right? So every day, if you go into your puja room and you chant Ugram Biram Mahavishram Janantam Sarvatomukam, right? Then after a while, maybe your mind wanders and maybe you're not thinking about Ugram Biram Mahavishram anymore, right? You're not thinking of the meaning of Ugram Mahavishram. Then change it. It's a radical idea. Change it. Put another one in, a different sloka to Narasimha. Every day, have a different one. A different dhyanam of the deity. And read the English out too. And then, wow, every day you're going to be thinking of different aspects of the Lord. Like when I was studying Vrindavan with Vishwambhara Goswami of Radharaman, he used to do his puja, and every day he would chant a different chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Every day it would be a different chapter.
Wow.
You know, so that's part of his puja. So sometimes we do things the same every day, every time, and sometimes we want to change it up a little bit so that we focus ourselves focus our mind more on what we're actually doing, because sometimes it becomes automatic. Oh yeah, I could do this Vishwaksena puja in my mind. I could do it with my eyes closed, and I'm thinking about something else. So we want to try to anything that will help us to concentrate. So that's why the japangas also, the nyasas and the different things, these also help us to concentrate, right? Concentrate on the rishi, the meter, the devata involved, the purpose of the mantra. That's why nyasa is important, like that. So some people will say nyasa is not important because it's just a ritualistic thing. You don't need to do anything like that. Yeah. The main thing is the mantra. No doubt, the nyasa is not as important as the mantra. The mantra is more important. If you say to me, oh, I do the Gayatri nyasa and everything, but I don't chant the Gayatri mantra, or I have this really complicated Sanya Vandana that I do, which takes me 2 hours, and I only chant 10 Gayatris. Maybe it would be better to have a shorter version of Sanya Vandana and do more actual Gayatri Japa, right? So we have to place things in their proportionately in their proper place. So something is more important, something is less important. When you're doing a puja, the main samskara is more important than the preliminaries, than the ending. So everything has to be, let's say we do a Sahasra Kalash Abhishek. We have 1,000 pots of different substances which we're going to pour over the deity. And we spend 5 hours setting that up and invoking different devatas into each pot and doing puja of all the pots. And then in 5 minutes, we pour it all over the deity. Maybe we should spend a little more time doing the actual Abhishek than setting it up, Right?
Makes sense.
Right? You see these videos on the internet of the guys with the dominoes, and they spend days setting it all up, and then they just push one and it's all finished in, 5 seconds like that. So of course, there's a lot of preparation. Some of these really big pujas and things, there's days and months, and we spend years learning mantras and things, and people don't realize sometimes how long it takes us to learn everything to just perform a simple puja, right? But still, we should try to put the emphasis on the main part of the ritual, and not on something which is less important. Because psychologically, the ritual we're performing, especially when we're performing for others, we're trying to impress upon them the importance of the certain parts of the ritual. And in general, we want to try to impress upon them the main part of the ritual. What's the main thing which is important?